G in 97, 96. I forgot when it was, but I got out there to go visit the offices, and
IDG headquarters are in Massachusetts, outside of Boston. FYI.
I couldn't understand it because the coffee was so bad.
Wow, you thought their coffee was bad? You like gas station coffee.
But he doesn't like Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm with him on that.
But I mean, we're talking 1990s Boston coffee, so it was pretty bad, but I couldn't believe how incredibly bad the coffee was in the office.
Okay.
We aren't looking for good coffee up here. We're just looking for hot coffee. It gets cold, man.
Yeah. The warmer, the better.
Yeah, we go through that stuff.
Really?
Can we talk some smack about Fenway, though? Like, why not just build a bigger stadium?
Boy.
Oh, no, you would never want to do that. It's great getting in there.
It's scary in those seats up on the wall.
Yeah, they're terrifying, but in the best way. I was just down there for Marathon Monday.
Oh, that's fun.
Nice.
What?
Willis, I think we're out of focus.
Oh, 1 second.
Yeah.
You know what I found about
I just
Fenway?
put a little
'Cause I
Vaseline
went,
on the camera to smooth out the wrinkles.
That's fine.
I went to a game at Fenway, and again, I'm a Raiders fan, which is wholly blown up because Raiders fans are not what you think. It's not 1976 or something football, but going to Fenway, just wow, these fans are incredibly rowdy. I mean, we have things in Oakland like epic bearded man being tased by the police department, that kind of stuff. But Fenway was just off the hook. I mean, Boston PD was in there just pulling people out every 2 minutes, beers being thrown. It's don't you want to watch this game? But no, they were there to fight basically in the stands of Fenway. I mean, I guess it's better that you get kicked out of the stands of Fenway for fighting and brawling rather than your team winning, I think.
Boston and Cleveland. I saw a game in Cleveland one time, and I felt like you were always on the edge of a fight in a way that I don't usually expect at sporting events. Right? Like you go to a Giants game and it's some guy sipping Chardonnay next to you, and you're I'm not going to have to have with this guy.
Come on.
Yeah, we're not going to.
Baseball's also boring. So
yeah,
Jesus,
you know what a Giants game is? Every single Giants game is
boring.
Oh yeah, I'm getting email my BlackBerry about my startup. Yeah, okay, and that's
BlackBerry,
that,
of course.
Yeah, who has a BlackBerry, dude? It's 2024.
Well, because that was the classic. But that really still has not changed for Giants games, right? That just has not changed.
Nobody's at Giants games anymore because it's not.
Can we have something between something? And I will tell you, the other game I'd gone to, I think at that time was we went to a Twins game. Minnesota Twins game, and they were playing the Blue Jays. So between Minnesota and Canadians, it was wow, this is the most polite baseball game I've ever gone to in my entire life.
Yeah.
So can we have somewhere between Twins, epic bearded man being tased by the Oakland Police Department, and then Fenway being the other end of let's.
I've never seen anybody tased at a baseball game before. That's that's interesting.
It's on YouTube, and I think it actually almost predates YouTube in some ways. That's how old it is. And he ended up being in a bus. He ended up being in a documentary later on because he was known as simply Epic Bearded Man. So
wow.
Wait, we're talking about Brad here?
Could be.
Not much epic about me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no problems. Did I just get a message? I thought I turned the stupid thing off.
Elena's in the chat and she says at least you didn't say Palm Pilot when you said people at Giants games.
I found my Palm Pilot recently. I'm if I put two AAAs in here, does it work?
Oh, a 3.
Oh no, not the 5. The original Palm Pilot.
Oh wow.
And it took just AAAs?
AAAs.
It took AAAs, and
Not
I don't think I put
AA,
that. I hope I took them out, but I'm wondering if I put the AAAs in, will it work?
Probably. I mean, there's nothing in it to break if you took the batteries out.
Yeah. Also, usually the problem is you find something that old and you're like, oh crap, the battery has
I always take
it's leaking
out,
everywhere.
So.
Yeah, my Palm 5 is probably pretty scary at this point, if I had to guess. It's a little spicy pillow.
Ooh, yeah. You don't want those spicy pillows.
No spicy pillows.
Yeah. Well, we're here. We're live. Everybody's in the chat.
iPack. Look at that. Somebody's throwing out all their old stuff. The iPack. That thing was incredible.
HP iPad.
Gordon, I remember when we got those in, and we were like, "Oh, this is the future of computing." This Microsoft thing, what became Windows Mobile, was the future clearly because you could use a stylus or you could use your finger, kind of if you pressed really hard. It was so good.
And this dock, did they expect you to
you got
plug
the
it
dock.
into?
That's how you synced it.
Yeah.
But it had Wi-Fi too.
Okay.
It was one of the first
No.
one of the. Yeah, it did.
Oh, for the iPack.
For the iPack.
Well, I think the iPack had to have because they had like a CF card reader, or it may have been a full-on. I think it may have been a full PCMCIA.
It was PCMCIA, yeah.
like a full one, so you could actually connect it to your PC over Wi-Fi.
Well,
Wasn't it a sleeve? You had a sleeve that had a PCMCIA card on the slot or something on the back? It was weird.
I think it actually it was really crazy off, like it was classic early PC OEMs, just like we're going to do every single thing we can to be different. So,
well, and that's a late one because it's an HP one. It was after they bought Compaq. But one of the weird ones, one of the weird things was some company that, like, occasionally in the old days, you'd get sent a piece of hardware and then the company would go out of business before you even had a chance. Like, you'd have it 3 weeks and then it'd be like,
yeah,
the person's they just don't answer emails and the emails bounce. So we got one of those early, what they called it, pocket PCs, I think. Is that wasn't that what the OS was called?
You mean the Windows CE based
The
ones?
Windows CE based ones, yeah.
There was also the Nokia communicator, which was on a Nokia OS.
Yeah, but there was like a Hong Kong company had made one, and they sent it to us, with the most amazing thing I ever received, which was a Sprint PCMCIA cellular data card that wasn't hooked up to any bill. It just kept going.
Oh, yeah.
So like the company sent it, they went away immediately before we even put the review in the magazine, I think. And then we just had this card, and like 2 years later, I opened my desk drawer, I plugged the card into the computer. I was like, I wonder if this thing still works. Wonder what this is. Still worked.
Still worked.
Sorry, I got that beat. One more pocket PC, kind of like old thing. I had for work, and actually wasn't a pocket PC thing, but this probably I'm going to see if I can predate everybody. But for work, they issued me at IDG. They issued me a Rocket modem.
Oh wow.
Rocket
Yes.
modem.
Yeah, no, that was so. The insane thing
was that 3G or GPRS? GPR. It must have been GPRS, right?
No, that was so. Basically, it was RS-232 to the laptop, and then it was the size of basically, the thing was giant, like the size of a TI calculator, and then it had the antenna, and then basically the problem with cellular has always been right of way. In order to put towers up, you have to pay. You got a bribe. You have to pay all the bribes to all the city officials. So they basically paid all the utility companies so they could stick these sort of small cellular, not really cellular because you couldn't really roam these easily.
Yeah.
But you basically had these small nodes attached to the utility. So if you had a light pole, so under the street lamp would be a rocket. The other end of that rocket modem, and it would hook up to it, and it was incredible. It was just like,
how fast was it?
Come on, we're talking 1996 internet, man. I mean, how fast did it have to be?
It's 56K probably, right? Yeah. Well, it says rocket in the name. I assume it's going to be fast.
But I mean, it was incredible. It was just like, and I had that on my Micron laptop that was like 2.5 inches thick.
Oh boy.
It was, but you still like, I mean, like you were from, holy smokes. I walked in from a space capsule. Like I landed on the moon among the apes, and then I came out of the space capsule.
Well, do you remember the Diamond? Diamond sold a wireless kit that was two PCMCIA cards and a PCI adapter for one of them. And it predates Wi-Fi by like 3 years. It was in the late 90s, 98, 99. Yeah. And the idea was you plugged one of the cards into the back of your PC, and then you plugged the other one into your laptop, into the PCMCIA slot in your laptop, and you could use the Windows network bridging to have wireless internet in like I said, the late 90s. I set it up. I did a review for ours. It was literally like I had literally like a 5-foot circle of area that the wireless worked around the thing, because of course the PCMCIA card's hanging out of the back of the computer. It's a giant metal box in the corner of the room, and but I was able to move the couch until I could lay on the couch and take a picture of myself on the couch using the laptop on the internet in like 1998.
Yeah, it's like magic back then.
Yeah,
and yes, internet, we know it's called PC card. It turned into PC card, we know. But predating that, it was called PCMCIA.
Yeah, so it's always PCMCIA in my heart.
And they probably still update their firmware in F-15s with PCMCIA cards. So
look.
Anyway,
You want an 8-inch
have new
floppy? I got a
hardware.
guy.
We have new hardware to talk about.
We do. Yeah. Lots to talk
we
about
do.
here today.
I'm sure people are like, really? Come on, Grandpa. Get
No.
off the couch.
People love the old talk. Yeah.
No, they're probably like, no, the power button's on top. You're pressing the wrong button. Yeah.
Look, I'm
I
just
realize
hit
that's
turbo.
what I wish handhelds had, Adam.
Uh-huh.
Bring
power
this up
button
to
on
you
top.
because you're an influencer on handhelds.
Okay.
No, the problem with handhelds, if you're in a totally dark room, you can't see what any of the other buttons are. They're not lit up. There's no buttons that are lit up.
But it's gamepad controls. Do you need to look at your? Do you need to look to see which one
Like,
the A button is?
Yeah. Which buttons are you talking about? Well, first,
Gordon
I'm
does.
talking about the other buttons. I was looking for the Steam button in a totally pitch black room. It's like, where's the Steam button? So
yeah, it's just muscle memory.
I
to
can't-
get it.
He can
Yeah.
touch every key on a keyboard by muscle memory, but
Yeah.
controller's
no,
not
you
so much.
can't. You can't tell me where the
Tilde, pinky up, shift.
right square bracket is.
It's left of the P, or right of the P.
Yep.
Okay, what about the thing that's standing straight up? It's not to
The
the left
pipe?
or right.
Yeah, pipe.
The pipe is on the back.
Right of the
backspace.
brackets.
Yeah.
That is, you know what? Let's talk about
The
eliminating things on
backslash.
keyboards. So let's get rid of the pipe key.
Ooh.
Man, the pipe key is so
No,
useful.
Yeah, you
You can go in and pipe stuff with like, you know what? They can just change stuff in the command line. They can change. We'll start
No.
removing these stupid keys nobody uses.
Look,
Uh-oh.
Gordon, now that 2025 is going to be the year of Linux, you're going to learn to love the pipe key because you can pipe the output from one command into another program using the pipe key. That's what
Pipe
it's
also
for.
works in DOS too, I believe.
Really?
So
Oh, I didn't know
I'm
that.
sure it does.
Today I learned.
Probably works in VMS.
Wow, you're going to get a lot of angry emails on your Palm Pilot for
Yeah.
wanting to take away the pipe.
Yeah.
Gordon.
We got email, I think. No, we didn't. Did we?
No, who checks the email? I don't check the email.
We have email.
Well, you could synchronize your email when you hooked it up to your computer.
Do you remember what email was like in the 90s when you'd be like, "Oh man, I got 5 emails this week. This is
You've
amazing."
got mail.
Back in my day, yeah. No, I spent a couple of days restoring like terabytes of emails. It feels like that I had sitting on a hard drive. So
Do you remember being excited about getting an email? It's just no one's
Oh, yeah.
excited about getting an email anymore. It's just like, oh god, it's more.
I'm excited to get emails that aren't just junk.
Brad is ready
Yeah.
to start this rocket. Light this rocket.
Yeah. Brad's like, I got work
Yeah,
to do.
Brad's a serious business.
I was just busy going down my 18,000 emails and thinking I don't care about email anymore.
Yeah, nobody likes emails. Nobody likes emails. You know what I do care about? Ryzen 9000 Part 2,
Yeah, I like that.
Return of HEDT, and Upgrade or Wait, which we have purposely timed for Elena not to be here so that I can recommend only high-end hardware
Yeah.
that you upgrade.
She's in the chat.
She's going to be raging now.
Yeah.
Screaming at the
Raging.
radio.
Yeah.
She might pop in. Sure enough, she might summon Elena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you say it into the mirror enough. I paid full retail 3 times. She'll show up.
$600 is a perfectly reasonable price for a CPU.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Ready when you are, Gordon.
You ready to do this?
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
let's do this.
Here we go.
In this episode of Full Nerd, Ryzen 9000 Part 2, Return of HEDT, and Upgrade or Wait.
One take on that.
Yeah, not bad, huh?
Yeah, bro.
I already wasted so much time talking about Palm Pilots. Welcome to the Full Nerd, episode 313. I see, I got that right.
Yes,
I got
it's
that
true.
right.
Hey.
I'm your host, Gordon Mong, with co-host Brad Charkis.
Hey, the audio's working this week, and I couldn't hear the intro music again.
Oh, of course, that's the way it works. That is the way it works. One thing works, the other thing doesn't work. Adam Patrick Murray is to the left of Will Smith.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi, I also am here. Wait, you're to my right. I guess I'm to the left of you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my
It's all
screen.
relative.
Yeah, I think we might be
You have to
backwards
talk
on
from
this
viewers'
camera. Yeah.
point of view.
That's
camera
true.
view.
Oh,
That's true.
Yeah.
And of
camera
course, we
right.
have Will Smith to the right of Adam Patrick Murray.
Yep. Hi, I'm Will Smith. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi.
And Willis Lies running the vertical and horizontal.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday.
And today, the topic of the day, the burning topic, although it was burning up the charts last week, is Ryzen 9000 Part 2, or basically Ryzen 9s. We did the podcast last week. I wasn't here. but I think the embargo lifted after. I guess did it? I don't know.
It did. Yeah. Wednesday.
We had to rush to get those Ryzen 9s off the table before the podcast last week. So,
Got it. So we're going to be talking about Ryzen 9 9950X, Ryzen 9 9900X. You can go watch my big fat mouth talk about it in the video we have on the website already. So I'm actually going to just pitch it to the other members of the cast here to see what they think, because I've already gone through the numbers. I think you already know what I think. So what do you all think about the Ryzen 9 9950X and the Ryzen 9 9900X? And if you don't know, Ryzen 9000, Zen 5 cores, 16 cores, 12 cores. That's all you need to know.
I will say, good video. Definitely go watch it. Good stuff in there. One of the things we talked a little bit last week about not only the chips themselves, but the way we configured it, all that kind of stuff. So, and Gordon gets into that video as well. I will say one of the things that I feel like I didn't touch on last week's episode that we could touch on a little bit here too, and it says it right in the title of Gordon's video, is that we focused on like productivity rather than gaming. That was an intentional thing before any of this, before even the chips came. Gordon and I kind of sat down and talked about the benchmarks we want to run. So, like, partially, I think when we're talking about the whole, I don't want to use the word drama, but I'm going to say the word drama around, what's going on with these launches. A lot of it was because of gaming performance, and we didn't do that many gaming results, so we kind of had a different focus because we knew other people would dive deeper into gaming. Gordon, do you want to say a little bit about why we made that decision?
Well, I mean, one thing is, we've always kind of leaned into things that we think are useful to the audience. So getting into a little more detail of some of the benchmark results of, say, like Puget Bench or DaVinci or Photoshop, I think is helpful, because it's not only about games, folks. It's not only about games. I know all gamers think the entire world is built around them and only them, but there's a lot of people who do need, many core CPUs. But I think the feeling was we do see more value in offering, deeper advice into content creation. It's something that we've also kind of leaned into, and also as, it's gotten harder to do launches because it takes more time. It's a serious lift to do any of these reviews. You got to start cutting things out, and our feeling was, also there's a lot of surface being done out there already being done in gaming. And then I don't think we ever officially discussed this, but I'm also like, you don't want to get into a shooting war with hard-won box and gaming benchmarks. Right? You don't want to.
And also on this kind of category, right? Like these giant multi-core CPUs, like gaming perf, they're not like gaming perf isn't that. Gaming perf is much more about GPU than it is about CPU for virtually every computer.
But 1% lows.
Look,
but 0.01% lows.
Well, okay, the 1% slowest frames
win games.
Look, that's a marketing slogan. But I mean, the 1% lowest frames. Like, if we were talking about reducing microstutter and that, if that's actually impactful in these new CPUs, I'd have that conversation. But that's not what anybody's talking about. People are talking about frame rates, and they're talking about average frame rates, and it's a kind of dopey way to benchmark some CPUs. I think personally.
Yeah, well,
shots fired.
And, I said this last week, and I think some people were confused by my offhand comment of like, gaming, I don't give two craps, because for me, like the gaming I care more about on the GPU side, but also like, I care about CPUs and wanting to see, me personally, more productivity based CPU benchmarks out there. Like, the gaming stuff is cool, great. If you want to min-max your setup and make sure you got the right CPU with the right GPU and get all the best 1% lows and stuff like that, that's great. But also, for actual production workflows where you're making money potentially or trying to render something faster, like that's where I'm like, ooh, I'm excited to test that out. So, I think that's why it was nice that both Gordon and I were kind of in alignment on on focusing on productivity and all that kind of stuff.
I also agree too, because it's just like if you have a Ryzen 9 9950X and you bought a 16-core gaming CPU and you're a 90% gamer, you probably, I mean, I hate to say this because, you've probably have not optimally spent your money, right? If you just want to I don't want to say just because that downplays it, but if you're primarily a gamer, it feels like obviously buying a 9950X is not the first choice CPU you're going to want, because you want a 16-core CPU for content creation. And you're not really hurting for performance. I know everybody sort of gets into my line is bigger than your line, but at some point it's just like, I would rather focus on the GPU portion on that. So I do think there's less value in paying that close attention to gaming on a high-end, many core CPU. But at the same time, it's also unfair because there are people who like Will. If you're a developer, you need many cores, but you also play. By the way, you're a 50% gamer. Then maybe you do want a 9950X, right? So there's definitely those people out there.
And it's complicated too because the two die versions of these Zen 5 chips seem like they're kind of a little fraught, right? Like at least it seemed like there's a pretty substantial performance hit you go with going with the you see you're not seeing a straight increase as you add more cores like you might expect in a monolithic design.
Yeah, I mean it can get messy too because for people who don't know, you basically once you sort of cross from one CCD to the next CCD, and if some games just simply aren't great on those multi-die setups, it can hurt performance. But arguably, I would say how much are you really suffering at the same time too, right? Because it's just not like it's not like you're, oh my god, I'm giving up. It's not like you're trying to game on a Threadripper, right?
Right.
A multi-die Threadripper. I mean, there's definitely a lot of advantages to a mini-core Threadripper, but there's definitely a lot of disadvantages for gaming too. And I think most people would agree if you bought a 64-core Threadripper to play games 90% of the time, then you probably made the wrong decision. Sorry to be judgmental out there, but because if you bought it, that's your thing. That's nothing wrong with that, but don't want to yuck your yum, but you did not need to go that far.
Well, I got a question, Gordon, that people were asking people have been asking, but we talked about it last week. I want to get your take on it. Why does AMD even release these non-X3D chips to begin with? like I just care about the X3D chips. These are worthless to me. Why are they even releasing it? They should just release the X3D chips and and all of it at the same time. Like why is it staggered? Why do they even have these?
Yeah, and it's a very difficult problem for the internet to understand. So I'll lay it out for you. The world does not revolve around you.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Maybe around Will.
Newsflash.
But like everybody else.
It turns out the world revolves around the sun, and the sun does not revolve around us. Gamers are very large, very very vocal, part of the community. Very powerful too, frankly, for numbers. They do move a lot of numbers, but the world does not revolve around you, and these companies sell a lot of these CPUs to people, again, who do different things. There's, the old saying is the right tool for the right job. And again, yeah, X30 parts are awesome. And I love the 5800 X3D, Hall of Famer CPU, 7800 X3D, great chip. It's going to get its ass handed to it by the 9950 X part, right? There's no X3D part, but if there is, it's going to get its ass handed to it. So I think people just need to realize that the entire world does not only play games 95% of the time. And for people who need 16 cores, they need a lot of cores, they need that compute edge, then it's worth it. So that's why they make these chips, because, by the way, you don't want to go into your local supermarket and only sell one product. You want to have like, oh, by the way, we have a cheaper product. Oh, people will actually want a pack of buns that only comes in a 4-pack. Okay, we're going to sell that because you don't want them to buy your competitor's thing. You don't want to go like, oh, well, these are a hot seller for us. We're only going to sell these. Well, you're just leaving money on the table. And again, these are for-profit companies. They want to make money, and they have to sell products. And frankly, I don't know the number. I don't think I've ever seen any detailed numbers broken out by Intel or AMD or any of these companies saying what part of the high-end chips sell. But my guess is people keep buying them, so they keep making them. So that's generally the reason why. And not to, again, poo-poo on the people who only play games, but please remember the world does not revolve around you. And there are a lot of people who really indeed need 16 cores. There are people who need 64 cores. There's people who need 96 cores, and there's people who can only afford a 6-core CPU. So
maybe that's why we'll talk about HEDT in the next topic.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have a sense of how, like, what the percentage of the overall market, like, box processor sales are at this point, Gordon? It's small.
No, you mean retail box
Yeah,
products?
like the
Like
DIY.
Yeah. Versus pre-build or anything.
It's. I'm gonna guess it's pretty small. My numbers are way out of date. I'm not an analyst. I don't sit here and basically crunch numbers all day and go out and talk to people and have them tell me so I can put in a report that I sell you for $12,000.
Wow.
But my sense is generally retail products, they're not a huge. They don't drive. They're not. You're not talking 80% of CPUs sold are come in a box.
Yeah.
You're not talking 80% of retail chips being all sales. There's a reason why you have Lenovo, you have Dell, you have HP, you have Asus, you have MSI. You have these huge PC companies that sell. Literally, you can go look this up because again, those analyst reports that they pay $20,000 reports because it's worth it because you want to know what's going on. But they will tell you and estimate it like, oh well, XX sold 20 million PCs this year, right? I can tell you that I'm almost 100% certain that 80% of those, say, 20 million PCs that Lenovo sold are not going to be retail boxed desktop CPUs.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just not. But yeah, so how many of them are retail? I don't know, but I think what we also have to remember is there is a very, very healthy market. There's a reason why Micro Center exists. There's a reason why Best Buy. There's a reason why locally to us Central Computer exists because there's a lot of gamers out there. There's a lot of people doing DIY. There's a lot of people building machines. So it's still a very healthy market. And again, you why leave money on the table, right? If you're AMD or Intel, you want money from every single segment there is. So you're going to go try to sell to everybody. So the long answer is I don't know. Shorter answer is most people on the internet overestimate the actual amount of retail CPUs that are the market because everybody's in every single video yelling and shouting and on Reddit shouting about this and that and that. And so that's why it's an overrepresentative crowd, my belief.
Well, and the other thing I want to get your take on, Gordon, is a comment here from T.O. Hello. Said, I think the key point is being missed here, Gordon. Certain claims were made by AMD reps and released to the public regarding gaming. These weren't true.
Yeah, no, that's to be sorted out, right? I mean, there's definitely... It's unfortunate that a week after this, and basically the drama's been going on for a couple of weeks, we still don't have firm answers to exactly what's going on, right? That are public, that we know of, that anybody can talk about. And hopefully there will be. We don't know. We're going to find out. Hopefully, I don't know. Yeah, no, it's a severe head scratcher. And again, looking at our numbers for 9700X and 9600X is like, eh? And honestly, looking at the gaming numbers for our 950X and 90 and 9900X, you're like, if I'm a 90% gamer or I'm a developer or somebody who needs many cores with all those, and I do play games a healthy amount, say 50, 60% of the time. Yeah, no, I would definitely say, yeah, all the numbers that we've seen say like you'd be hard pressed to say, one, I'm not going to go upgrade, which is probably a silly proposition anyway, because who's really upgrading from gen to gen? But honestly, even as a new buyer, if you're going out and you're looking at every single option you can buy, are you really going to make a Ryzen, a Zen 5 9000 the top of your list based solely on gaming? I would say, yeah, that's especially at the current street pricing. It's up to everybody's budget and how they want to spend things, you know. So I think you have to make that decision. And yeah, no, I don't think anybody's happy with how this has turned out. I'm sure AMD is not happy with it either, to be honest.
Well, but do you think AMD just went too far in their marketing? Like they cherry picked the numbers to look the best of the best, and got everybody expecting performance, and then when independent reviews came out, it just wasn't there. Whether it's a problem, with the OS or the chip or whatever, like they said numbers and everybody feels like they didn't hit the expectations.
I would I would say I don't agree. I would agree with that because I don't think expectations were met, right? And everybody had higher expectations of gaming performance. I mean, although we can go back and forth in this all day, but I think definitely there's definitely a lot of people who did not, like they expected more coming out of Computex, although Computex wasn't a lot, but coming out of the actual announcement, I sort of expected more. And that to me says messaging, whether that's because I screwed up as interpreting, because I mean, we play a game where they give us enough numbers to still make it tantalizing so they have something to talk about when it releases. And they have to also have numbers so that they can keep Intel on its toes. And then they also have to manage expectations of the press and reviewers. And I would definitely say there's been a disconnect. And I don't know what that disconnect, the reason for that disconnect is. So yes, there's definitely been a disconnect here. What that is, reasons for that, I don't know. Wendell actually has some really good videos to watch, though, I think, on this that are of interest, I think, because there's still, I'm going to imagine a lot of people in a lot of labs still losing a lot of sleep over this, trying to figure out what is going on.
I mean, I will say I love watching Wendell in general. I think everybody knows I'm a big Wendell stan.
So calm. It makes me feel very calm.
But also, like, he'll just come across. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, I decided, like, what if I just ran it in admin mode?" And I was like, "Man, I never would have thought of that. Like, how does he think that way? You know, like he naturally understands like what to poke and prod, and then he talks about it in a way that doesn't make me feel like an idiot for not thinking about it. He makes me feel just like, oh wow, it's just, you know, okay. I don't know. I love Wendell.
I mean, I think one of the things that this all highlights is how incredibly complicated everything is now. The OS is more complicated than it has been before. All the protection stuff that goes into the OS that keeps malware from doing bad things to computers also has impacts on performance testing and stuff like that. The BIOSes are complex. UEFIs are complex. The CPU architectures are incredibly complex. Everything is complicated, and there's a million. If anything, it highlights how much more difficult it is to compare, say, our PCWorld numbers to Gamers Nexus numbers to Hardware Unboxed numbers or whatever, because we're all doing slight variations on the same tests. And
which was actually a chat I had in Discord. Like, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you should try to make sure people know, like, hey, you can't just take these numbers and directly compare them to another outlet because they were tested in different ways." And I'm like, wait, people still don't get that? But I guess, the YouTube comments are full of that as well.
Well, you the one thing you can compare is kind of the delta from one CPU to the other. Like if
maybe,
assuming the benchmarks are set up with the same bottlenecks, like assuming you're CPU limiting your gaming benchmark, then yeah, you can say, okay, my Cyberpunk numbers and your Cyberpunk numbers have the same delta between the 9700 and the 7700. So that reads. Mm-hmm. But then if somebody it's really challenging to make most gaming benchmarks CPU limited these days, because most of them, they may be boost clock limited, they may be memory bandwidth limited, but they're often not CPU limited in any way, shape, or form, especially if you do stuff like turn ray tracing on or have DLSS cranked up or whatever the number of CPU bound games is like Rainbow Six Siege and that F1 racing game. It's all old stuff or stuff that's designed for highly competitive play that's designed to run at like 300 frames a second. So,
yeah. And I do want to say one thing, and I think it is fair to point out, because we're already people already are moving down the outrage pony pursuits, but and I do want to point out, because looking at 9700X versus 7700X, 9600X versus 7600X, gen to gen, you're looking at core for core. I mean, it wasn't like, I would say, again, like the two lower end Ryzens didn't blow me away. And I actually, looking at my numbers, you can go look at our review as well on the website to look at all the charts if you want to. But, I think it's unfair to say that gen to gen, there's actually some really good data here. Like 9950X over 7950X, and again, same platform, PBO1 on both of these. You're looking at about a 9% increase in Cinebench 2024. And then for 9900X versus 7900X, although we didn't have PBO 7900X on, we had it to auto, so that's about 13% uplift. So that was pretty nice. And to me, again, you got so the people who are chasing, I need buttloads of CPU cores, they got a very decent uplift. And then looking at open data blender for, benchmark 4.2, when you're looking at Monster gen to gen, you're looking at a 14% increase, right? That's pretty damn good, right? That's going from 9,000 to 7,000, Zen 5 to Zen 4. And, that's like kind of stuff. And 15% for the junk shop model. And then looks like, and then I didn't write it down here, but you're getting really decent uplift on those multi-core heavy loads that I think were very promising, that people should not lose oversight. Although then you get into some of the content creation stuff, and it didn't really run away from the older generations there, but definitely there were some things that were multi-core dependent, and it does point to like, okay, you know what? If I'm rendering 3D models and I can't afford a Threadripper, 9950X might be the next thing I go with, because I'm speccing a new box. Do I really want to go with a 7950X to save? If I save $80 or $100, but now I'm giving up 15%, possibly more, depending on the application and workloads I'm using, then I would say in that case, you would probably go for the newer core, over the older core.
But Gordon, prices actually went up, because instead of a 9700X, I could get a 9700 non-X with a box cooler, and it'd get the same performance. Gordon, these are horrible values.
Yeah,
how could you even say that anybody should get the new one?
This is actually something I want to bring Brad into, because Brad is chomping at the bit to say something here. Because I'm interested to see what your review is view here, Brad, is because I know the way I do it on CPUs is I generally tend to decouple pricing from actual performance. So I sort of look at the value of the performance of the CPU. Like, okay, what am I getting gen to gen, irregardless of the actual price? Because, and I'll explain why I do that in my brain mentally. Because I like, okay, well, if I'm seeing a 15% increase in performance, that's pretty decent. So, and again, I decouple that from pricing as a reviewer, because my feeling is, my point of view is as a reviewer. People come to me because they go like, hey, Gordon, you've either tested these CPUs, and in this case, a lot of things goes to Will and Adam for actually putting the hard work of testing these CPUs, because I didn't have a chance to get to them myself. But they tested them, and I look at the numbers. So these numbers look, like, here's my advice based on this core, based on this chip, this model, versus this for your work. And obviously it's like, what do you do? What do you do in there? How many cores do you need? How hard are you doing this? Blah, 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 blah. So I would look at that. Then I would give that advice. So I generally, in my opinion, decouple that from the pricing, because pricing changes every day. So like, this is why, like, during the GPU times, the bad GPU times, during the Clone Wars, I would decouple the pricing on the GPUs oftentimes, because it was like, I don't know what the pricing is going to be. So like, it would feel very disconnected for me from a lot of people on the internet, on Reddit and YouTube comments, because a lot of people view this from the buyer. I'm going out and I'm buying this. I have this much money in my wallet. I need to buy this part. I need to make this decision this week. Okay, That is a hard choice to make. But I generally, and again, I can factor that into you. If you're like, hey, I got to make this choice this week, Gordon, what do I buy? Like, on performance, here's what I think. Here's performance bonuses on this chip. Here's the negatives, blah, blah, blah. And then for your money, though, you really got to think, hey, yeah, you know what? Zen 4 does save you a lot of money, right? So then, but I give you that. But as a reviewer, I generally decouple it, because I know in 1 month, in 3 months, in 6 months, in 24 months, prices are going to be really, really different. So that's why for me it's different. So, but Brad, I know for GPUs, you don't often decouple prices as harshly as I do.
I try to split the difference, kind of, and it's experience over a decade plus of doing this now and a couple of these boom bust cycles. I do always try to review it just based off the core technology alone. Like, this is 60 class chip. It costs X amount comparing to a 60 class chip from last generation. Here's how the differences stack up. That's 95% of my review. But I do feel like part of my job as a reviewer is to talk about value and whether or not it's worth upgrading and stuff like that. And that really came to a head with this NVIDIA generation, to be honest. When they had, a 4080 that costs $600 more than last generation's. So you can't decouple that, in my opinion, if you're evaluating the product. But I can get why people are upset about, not upset. Gamers are, some people definitely are upset, but like deflated. Like the people who say I could have got a 7700 2 years ago and I'd have got a cooler for it, and now this is 4% faster in gaming. Like, it's true. Like, it's true. So that wouldn't be something you would upgrade. But again, you shouldn't upgrade gen on gen anyway. But like you're saying, the world doesn't revolve around you. Last week, I don't think you were here, but we talked quite a bit, and I was talking about how I was looking at Phoronix's and Level 1 Tech's reviews. Like, they baked in a lot of AI stuff. They baked in a lot of server kind of stuff. And that's kind of what the focus was this generation, I think. And that's just what it is. I mean, they're still pretty banging gaming chips. I think it's pretty cool that these days there's virtually no such thing as a bad gaming chip. So I don't get all the outrage, but it definitely is not a value for gaming.
One of the things that I think is interesting to me about all of this whole conversation is that, part of it is that I think people's expectations were a little bit misaligned, or maybe AMD presented what they felt was going to be the performance uplift on these parts differently. But I mean, I think the other thing is, in the old days, you kind of had to make a choice whether you wanted a bunch of cores or you wanted high boost clock speed. And it seems like we're maybe two things are happening. One is that the choice between lots of cores and high boost clock speed has gone away. The other is that the GPU is increasingly picking up more and more of the workload for things that used to require lots and lots of threads. So, for example, if you want to bake lights in Unreal, you can either use the GPU Lightmass tool, which does most of the work on the GPU, or you can use the CPU Lightmass tool, which does most of the work on the CPU. We did a video about this a few weeks ago. And the results on a giant $15,000 Threadripper or a $2,000 GPU, basically the same, right? But you're in a situation where you can, if you want to do a gaming PC, you can get an X3D part and put a low core X3D part in, and then just lean more on the GPU for what would have been CPU work 5-6 years ago. And I think that's the thing that people like. I don't need the 7900 or 9950X to be the right CPU for me anymore, right? Because I don't often, I need those cores sometimes, but I don't need them. The times that I need them, I'm comfortable making the sacrifice, and I'd rather have the performance in games the rest of the time. I think is the thing. Like I think. I'm rambling.
Definitely more complicated.
It's definitely more complicated.
Yeah. Well, and Gordon said this at the end of his video too. It's just like you have to factor a lot of different things in. Yes, price is a part of it, but yeah, like it's not just buy the most expensive CPU. That's always going to be the best for your use case. Well, not necessarily. And
the other difference between the CPU and GPU market is the GPU prices have been remarkably stable since the bad times during the pandemic, right? Like they were up and down like crazy during the pandemic, and then post pandemic, like the 4090 prices have been pretty much a flat line with occasional dips or spikes, and you don't see that on the CPU side as much because they're much more of a commodity, I think.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you, Will, because you do a system configuration based on everybody's needs, and everybody has different needs. That's why, hey, by the way, internet, personal computer is because it's personal. You can personalize it. So people forget that. I do. It's funny because that was my question for you folks is, because everybody clearly has gone into their X3D corner at this point. They're like, well, I'll just wait for the X3D part. And well, I understand. It makes a lot of sense. I have high expectations of X3D being a chip. What if it doesn't come out? What if there is never another X3D part?
What? What? They're abandoning the gamer market. Gordon, they're leaving us behind.
No, of course you're never
breaking news here. What?
No, you're never going to get any company to ever talk about future, unannounced hardware. Everybody expects there to be X3D parts. I fully expect it. It seems like it's a massive cash cow.
Yeah.
So but you also can't count on it too, because as we move from Zen 5 to Zen 6 and whatever, maybe packaging changes. Do maybe it's just simply not possible to stack the chips. We don't know, right? We don't know. Technology takes you where on a journey that sometimes isn't always fun. But my question though is really like, does AMD, have they found a key weakness to Intel's strategy that Intel's going to have to retune for? And that is because gamers, by and large, and it really does, and this is where retail gamers speak really loudly. I bet if you looked at X3D parts for gamers, they're huge, right? I bet they sell through an amazing amount of X3D parts. And I bet a lot of them are the A-core parts. Because
7800X3D is a banger part for
it is a good chip. I mean, it's a good chip,
machine, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's best of both worlds thing, but does AMD really need to make one? Of course, they're gonna make it based on how many they sold and but next generation, what if they said like, you know what? We heard all your complaints. We're gonna make 9800 X3D A-core part, price it really attractively, and that's it. So they basically, in a way, because of the gravity and the reputation that X3D has, they really don't need to make. Maybe they don't need to make an X3D part because maybe the money's not. Somebody's got to crunch the numbers there to figure it out. But
of 9,000, you mean?
Right, because you're burning 2 dies on it. Are you really making all that money back? I don't. That's up to them, right? In fact, I don't care because that's their problem. That's not our problem as consumers. But what I'm saying is, like for Intel, they've always sold for gamers, and they are really there is an advantage. They are the best chips. The Core i9 1400K KS for Intel are their best gaming CPUs. You can't debate that, right? Because they give you the highest clocks. Yeah. But they also, at the same time, the problem with Intel is the way their model is built is the way that AMD used to do it too. Is like, you know what? You want the sunroof, you got to take the leather seats and the navigation package. Right, I don't want the navigation package. I got Google
analogy,
Maps,
of course.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's what you understand, right? Because
yeah.
Like, I don't want the leather seats. I don't want all this out. I just want the sunroof. No, but what I'm saying is like, could AMD just say like, look, we're just going to sell you the X3D parts as we know it's an awesome gaming chip. We're going to maybe put a little more magic into it, maybe upcharge a little bit more, but maybe skip the higher end parts, but only sell the X3D part in order to basically wring all they can out of it. And it puts Intel in a really, really tough spot. And it has for a while because, 7800 X3 at whatever, 300 and let's look at the price, $350 versus a $500, $550 ish, 1400K as a consumer, you're like, yeah, $200 gets me a lot of bigger SSD, a lot more. I just kind of wonder if that's going to force Intel to like, you know what, maybe we should not force everybody to take all these cores. Well, like they could do that with Bartlett Lake if that turns out to be like an awesome chip.
I mean, and the nice thing about buying the AMD chip versus the Intel one is that Ralph Nader is not going to do a documentary about your CPU in a few years. So, you got that going for you.
I want to give you 2 data points here. I looked it up on both Newegg and Amazon, sorted the best-selling CPUs. At the top of both of their lists were 7800 X3Ds.
I was just looking at the Amazon one as well, and it's the same thing. But the interesting point to me is that an Intel chip doesn't show up until number 10, yeah. And that one is the 12900KF, I think.
That seems safe. So,
yeah.
That's a safe one.
Yeah.
And then, on Newegg, the first Intel is at 3, and it's the 14700K.
Ooh, Gamers Nexus just checked their affiliate numbers. Hi, Steve, by the way.
Oh. Hello, Steve.
7800 X3D is doing 8-2 numbers against Intel's highest moving chip.
Right.
Not representative. Yeah. It's their audience, blah, blah, blah.
Usual disclaimer. Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah, good.
I do think, to get back to your initial question, I do think X3D is a killer technology, and AMD definitely is onto something here. And for what's worth, they have confirmed there are going to be X3D chips this time around. So it will definitely be here. And I would be surprised if Intel doesn't match it in some way itself in the future, because it's clear slapping that big slab of cash on top is so beneficial in so many games, even though it requires dropping down the frequency just a couple hundred megahertz.
Yeah.
I think Intel's got other things to work on too as well. So who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to have the time to zig and zag tactically like that. But we'll see.
What's interesting to me, I was just reading, looking about X3D for the 9000 series info, and I came up with an interview with Don Woligrowski over at Tom's Hardware. I hope I pronounced your last name right, Don.
Woligrowski, yeah.
But he was saying that the performance delta between the non-X3D and the 3D parts, X3D parts, are going to be smaller this generation around. So people who are holding out hope for, maybe X3D will come out kicking butt, taking names, is definitely in the realm of possibility. But the fact that it's smaller compared to previous generations, that makes me go, curious to see where these are going.
I wonder why you thought that.
Or maybe it's a better deal to just get a 7800 X3D. Who knows?
Yeah, but I just kind of think the power of the X3D branding is like, it's like, AMD has carved out such a nice, I don't want to call it niche because it's more than a niche. It's a really, they've carved out a really good attack on Intel here. Like, what does Intel do, right? Because they've always been like, again, like going back to my car analogy, you got to take everything. You got to take 24 cores with those high boost clocks. We know damn well they could bin them out and also make high boost clock chips as well. But of course, maybe that's all related to Xeon because you're joined at the hip to Xeon parts oftentimes, and maybe that limits them. But I just kind of think like they're at such a price disadvantage against that 8-core X3D part for gamers that you would think they would kind of like, maybe they could take some salvage parts where they turn off the E-cores, bin the hell out of them and crank those clocks up. Or, find something because it just feels like, yeah, I know if I'm a gamer and I do Intel, I want i9, but it's a really, really tough. That's a really tough sell sometimes.
Well, and fundamentally, we're now, almost 15 years into multi-core CPUs. We've been waiting for games to take advantage of more than like four threads, 6 threads maybe on a big game for a decade now. At this point, I think it's safe saying, hey, man, maybe 8 cores is all we need. Right? Like, what are we going to, like, most of what we do with computers is like 8, 16 cores. Pretty good. But 16 threads. Pretty good. That's maybe all we need. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's finally fast enough.
Plenty of people still gaming on old CPUs, as we learned last week, too.
Yeah.
So
I still have the old Steam demo. I have to dig it up. It's on a hard drive buried at work somewhere. But
Steam demo?
Yeah. So they, at one point, Valve demonstrated, because remember, Intel, AMD technically had a quad core sort of ish, but those are the times AMD would not want to talk about. So, but at that time, Intel had a really rockin' quad core part, and it was clear signs that we were like moving. We'd finally moved past the stage of single cores forever. We'd moved to quad cores, and Valve released a demo that would demonstrate the usefulness of multi-core CPUs.
The awesome power of multi-core CPUs.
You remember that one?
Yeah, I remember this.
Like, spill everywhere.
It was a bunch of particles, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, a bunch of particle effects. I need to dig that up.
I've never heard about
how
this.
that runs on.
Yeah,
we should run that. We should dig it up somewhere. But I still have the executable somewhere on a hard drive. So.
I bet it'd really run on a Threadripper. we should put that
that would
on
be funny
the
to find.
Threadripper. Yeah, see what it does.
Well, the problem was like, wow, it's so promising. We've gone to quad cores. It's awesome, and then it didn't really scale past 4 cores.
Oh, really?
Well, I remember when they added in the source engine, they added the toggles for enable multi-core rendering, which would basically make the game crash about 2 out of 3 times on most of the PCs, because the threads would get out of sync. But yeah, look, man, it's
interesting.
It's always complicated. I don't see the Valve thing immediately on YouTube when I search for it. So that's
maybe we should.
Okay, I'll have to look for it. It's on a hard drive that has a e-ink. It's a cool WD drive that has e-ink on it. It has my name on it. So.
Well,
here I got my last thing I want to bring up there, and I just want to point out because obviously it's in vogue to bash on Intel, and the thing is I've seen this repeated over and over and over again on Reddit. And a lot of people say, like, Intel intentionally locked us in at quad cores forever. And I know a lot of people think and believe that, but I don't, having lived through that era, I don't actually believe that was always, I don't believe that's actually true. And I don't believe that was always true because at one point Intel was like, we have dual cores, and then we have quad cores, and then we have 6 cores. So you remember because you had basically HEDT, you had, see, this could work into a segue.
Yeah, this is an incredible segue.
I'm ready.
We had LGA 1366, you had Gulftown, you had Westmere, and Intel was actively going out, and they were like, hey, they did launches for them. They made these, it was not cheap to make these motherboards, X58. So it's in the X58 days, you had 6-core CPUs, Gulftown, and they were selling these things like, hey, 6-core, we're in, multi-core's the future, baby. And they would, I remember going to the press demos in San Francisco. Wow, that's cool. And you talk to the developers like, yeah, look at how awesome for some reason it was always this way. It was always a what of the little games where you have units fight back and forth? What the hell?
RTS.
Yeah.
It was always an RTS game, but it was like, yeah, look at the incredible uplift we're getting our RTS game on the 6-core Intel CPU. Oh, that's really cool. Like, and basically, of course, Intel had to go out and pay them, or spend a lot of development relations money to get the game to support more than 2 cores or more than 1 core. And of course, the developer, when you talk to them on site, is like, yeah, so do you think this is really the future? Like all your games are going to require 6 cores to run? It's like, hell no. Are you kidding? We want to sell our game, right? Because I mean, even Intel's money could not move people to buy 6 cores, right?
Well, but
they
then
did push it.
But then all the consoles came out, and like we have 8-core plus CPUs in 2 generations of consoles now. So like it got there, but we still aren't using those. Like even the console games aren't hitting all those cores for the most part. It's unusual.
I thought consoles were going to bring us 8-core gaming, though. Remember that's been a saying for like.
This is my point.
Years.
I mean, this is my point. The option has been there for a really long time now, and it turns out it's a substantial problem because of the way the game loop works in most engines. So unless you're specifically doing something that you can offload a bunch of asynchronous work to, like AI loops for a lot of little guys, running massively multi-core CPUs don't really help games all that much.
Wait, so people shouldn't blame Intel; they should blame developers.
It's lazy game devs.
Lazy
like
developers.
I always say, it's always those lazy game developers.
I knew it.
Please don't hate me.
I'm not.
This is a
really
joke.
Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man.
Oh, like this? Yeah.
Yeah. You know why?
Wait, who's
it's
the
a
third
classic,
one?
Well, because I'll tell you what it
NVIDIA.
is.
Oh.
Well, NVIDIA, I'm sure maybe you have 4 Spider-Mans. Because one is going to blame, because I will tell you, Intel did actively spend their hard-earned cash to pay developers, to help developers optimize applications and games for 12 threads.
But
6 threads and more.
But that's like they always pay. Hardware vendors always pay people to implement new features that aren't gonna help sell the game. Like that is game developers should not build features in for free that's not going to help them sell their game, because their goal is to sell games, not support new hardware.
Right. And here's the other, in your defense, Will, as a game developer.
Unemployed, currently unemployed, just for
I'm
the
just
record.
saying, what game developer, because I know every software vendor goes back to the hardware vendors. It's like, well, we love this incredible thing you've done, NVIDIA, Intel, AMD. We really love it. Wow, this is awesome. I'm selling this game for like $42. Do you think we're going to get this really great advancement in things people can afford anytime soon? No, because we got to pay for this. Because again, Westmere, those 6-core CPUs, they were $1,000, right? So it's Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man. See, that's what I'm saying. And then of course people point at NVIDIA. So
Well, but NVIDIA figured this out because they were like, hey, if we want people to support DLSS, we need to make this something that like the intern can install and have running in an afternoon. And that's how the DLSS plugin works, right? Reflex is a little more complicated. But for the most part, if you're using Unreal or Unity or one of the common engines, you can implement their DLSS plugin in a really short period of time, which is why all those games supported DLSS out of the gate. And the combination of it being good enough, and fast and easy to implement, like meant that it took as much time for the UI, adding the UI flags took as long as it did to implement the actual technology in the engine almost. It was
wow.
Which, like, just to be clear, often the UI work is a bigger gate than the engineer time because there's a bunch of engineers, you only want one UI person, but still it's yeah.
Anyway, we're way off topic. for Ryzen 9000. Any last thoughts on Ryzen 9000? I'm sure there will be more to this story that we'll cover.
Yeah, I
in
think
coming weeks.
this is Melda Marcus's closet full of shoes still dropping. It feels like so.
Hey, at least those computers aren't unstable and crashing for most people
Yet. Don't bring that into existence.
You are so
Jeez.
jilted. You are so jilted.
Nobody ever got fired for buying Intel, Gordon says.
I actually it does interestingly segment with the next topic though, which is
should
HEDT come back?
What is HEDT, Gordon?
So this is a term I would wholly say was coined by Intel. It stands for high-end desktop. Cynic, it basically means higher-end hardware for more discriminating computer users that need more performance. Discriminating and more cynical users would say HEDT is a way to charge me more money for hardware. So, but it is technically higher-end hardware. So, historically, if we go back to I'm trying to think of what would have been the earliest HEDT platform I can think of on consumer.
It's like the Halem time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been
when they had dual channel memory. When the dual or maybe quad channel memory first hit, I think was the first time that they took a Xeon platform and clocked it up a little bit and put it on consumers.
Yeah, I would say again this goes back to 1366, right? Because we had LGA 11.5X, because who can remember they had 3 different socket numbers, but you had 11.5X, you had 1366, and 1366, which was the HEDT platform at the time.
Yeah.
So the normal commoner person would get dual channel memory. You would get up to quad cores. Most of them were dual cores, obviously. And then HEDT, which actually came out first, gave you up to 6 cores and tri-channel memory.
That's right.
The X58 days gave you tri-channel memory and was really sort of pitched as, hey, by the way, this is awesome because if you need, we laugh now because you can get a 6-core CPU for like out of a vending machine, and you can. I'm not even kidding.
My phone has a 6-core CPU in it.
Yeah, well, more than that.
But back then, a 6-core Intel CPU was 1366 was $1,000. You had to buy 3 matched DIMMs to make it work. The motherboards were $300. They were insanely, of course,
I was about to say,
we laugh.
300. Wow, 300 for a motherboard?
They're really expensive, and it really was like they didn't have integrated graphics. A lot of the sort of like, it's funny how there's HEDT and the other one doesn't get low-end DT. It doesn't get LEDT, but so the normal one got dual channel, and then also the low end.
Start referring to it.
You sort of got things like you got integrated graphics, you got integrated PCIe first, so
usually get more PCIe lanes.
Did X58 give you? Damn, did X58 give you integrated PCIe? Hell, I can't remember.
Yeah, there was IOH PCIe, right?
Yeah, that might have been it. But so like
36 lanes.
Yeah. So more lanes, but it was the whole march down, more lanes, more cores, more performance. And basically a lot of it was hardware they sort of borrowed from, the core division never liked this, but a lot of people saw it as like they borrowed it from the Xeon division. Like, hey, you make this part, you sell it for a major buttload of money. We're going to take this part and sell a consumer version on it. Yeah, we'll turn off stuff like,
ECC was off.
ECC,
right?
And turn off some other features because we know, we know you want to preserve your. We don't want people buying Core i7 instead of buying Xeon, but we think there's a great moneymaker here, and there was. But so I had this crazy idea, like with all the problems that Intel's had recently, and the fact that Will is clearly a jilted Intel user at this point. I personally am feeling a little burnt, and I wonder like when I was talking to Will, because we both previously almost exclusively ran HEDT. I ran X58, I ran X79, I ran X99.
Yeah, same. We were both core hungry real early, and
Right.
both because we were doing video. You were doing a lot of photo stuff back then too.
Not just because it was stupid, because you had to be. I had to explore the.
Look, man, I had a whole buttload of DVDs that I was ripping, and I would sit there at my home computer and just drop discs in and rip and compress them down to H.264 anytime I was sitting in front of my PC. So that thing was burning all the cores as hard as it could. Anytime I was using the computer, never had any problems. Years. I went from a 1366 board to I think a Broadwell or Broadwell E. I can't remember. Broadwell E was a real stinker, but like, and then went to an X9900K on an X99, and like all HEDT platforms, right? All big, lots of memory channels, all that, and then they dropped that and went to the pure consumer thing, and that's when I started having problems when I switched to the Raptor Lake and all that. So like I wonder, you said that and I was like, well, I've not had one. And then I looked at my backlog of old machines. I was like, oh right. And just to be clear, each of those machines also went from like full-time desktop use and then went back a generation and it sat in the garage as a server for another 3 years after it stopped being my desktop computer. So like those machines ran for 10 years in some cases, which is crazy when you think about it. But like it's yeah, I think you're onto something here, is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, now I'm going to try it, see if it works.
Yeah.
Wendell. No, it's not going to work. Like, if you say his name 3 times, does it show up? Because I'm wondering, like, maybe this extends to motherboards too, not just CPUs, but like, HEDT days, I never, ever, ever questioned doing an overnight encode or an overnight render. Like I did a render for my daughter because her machine was too slow and she made some Blender models. I was like, I'll just render this out of my machine. It'll be pretty quick. No, it wasn't. It was like I woke up the next morning. It's still going and the room is hot. It's like Terry Childs' mom was like, I probably just spent $8 in electricity there, right? Like, well, but like I never questioned like, oh, I could have smoked my box.
Yeah, no.
I was just like, man, that was a waste of. But now, like, I'm afraid to I have 25 DVDs I went to AI upsample. I'm afraid to do it on my consumer box, my LEDT box. Like, is that
LEDT?
Or...
I like this. You just coined something new. LEDT.
No, I mean, are the motherboards not being made up to, like, and again, you're buying when you were buying an HEDT motherboard, it was many, many layers. They charged you an arm and a leg for them. And you sort of expected like, okay, well, this is works 24/7, 365, and I'm never going to ever worry about it. And I don't think that way anymore. Like I'm gun shy. I'm like, okay, I'm going to encode these five videos, come back in an hour or two to make sure like I don't come back to a black screen and I've blown something out.
I'm going to underclock next time I need to do a video encode just to be safe. Dial it down a little bit. I don't know. I think I think there's definitely something here. I also think that our workloads are pretty atypical. Like I think the kind of workload that I put on a 13900K when I was baking, light maps in a video game for 45 hours a week is probably not something that that you're going to do in a normal environment. And as Kelt said when we were talking about this with him, probably that's the kind of thing that you should buy a Xeon or a Threadripper for, right? Like that's what those are designed for.
Did Kelt go like, by the way, you could buy a Xeon.
got a real nice Threadripper right here.
Yeah, maybe you should pony up and pay for something. You can do that stuff.
I do though feel that HEDT had its moment in the sun. I mean, Threadripper, like for years we were talking about like, oh my God, look at all these cores they're giving you on Threadripper. Yeah. It was like the hot new thing. I mean, people were even testing it for like gaming, even though it wasn't even meant for that. Like, but it kind of came and then it kind of went. Like there's always going to be that market that still kind of needs it for sure. But are you saying it should return to the heyday of like early generation Threadripper where, like gamers are even considering it?
I
don't know, because maybe just both Will and I are freaks. Again, I have like how many people I just literally bought the entire 5 seasons of the Lou Grant TV show, and I'm not. Wow. And I'm trying to. And I'm following Joel Haruska from Extreme Tech down. Like, how can I increase the visual quality on these? But now I'm like, so that means basically hammering my machine for literally, 50 hours of AI, using Topaz video to upsample this. I'm like, I'm afraid to do that. Like, I swear to God, I would never even think twice on my X99 box. I would like never even question it. But now I'm like,
Well, it would be 70
But
hours on
maybe-
your X99 box first.
probably it'd be
so, yeah.
70 hours, so it'd be definitely slower. But like,
Well, so
maybe-
yeah, but couldn't you just undervolt or limit clocks or power constrain your LEDT and kind of get the same experience?
Well, I mean, the problem that mess though is right now with Intel is like, what is the meaning of we just don't know if the water's safe yet. I mean, I feel it's a lot safer than it was a month ago, and then even 3 weeks ago, it feels a lot safer. And like I've been doing things on there that I'm like wasn't afraid of, but I'm not sure. Like I just want to be able to.
Even Gordon's shook.
Well, I'm shook a little bit here, right? Because again, the problem is I'm using this machine for work too. Like my other machine, if I blew it up, whatever.
Oh no, Wendell appeared.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah,
you summoned
you
him.
did say his
Wow.
name 3 times and he appeared. Oh, that's hilarious.
No.
Summon
Hi, Wendell.
Wendell.
I'm
Wendell.
going to assume the level 1 text channel is Wendell. So
The thing.
Wendell, quick.
Oh,
We're gonna update quick Wendell.
yeah.
Wendell, supposition here or question. I don't even know if I got that right. So my belief is Will and I previously only ran HEDT boxes almost exclusively, and now of course with the troubles of Intel in the last few months that we've gone through, I'm gun shy to even do a 40-hour AI video upsample, and Will is afraid to do 40-hour light bakes on our low-end desktop machines, which are
LEDT.
basically consumer boxes. Is it time for HEDT to come back?
he would probably say it's already back, baby. Because I mean, he does
Well,
kind of
I
test
mean-
those Threadrippers.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's so
yeah.
it's so
Just-
expensive.
Just think about what you just said. You talked about buying an X58 board that was expensive at $350 and then a $1,000 CPU. And look, what you got out of that was a really stable machine that you could throw any workload at. It was great. Now you buy a $500 motherboard and a $600 CPU, and you get something that melts down in like 6 months, and you have to replace 3 or 4 times. So I feel like I want my Nehalem back, man. Bring me my.
Hey,
Well, but somebody mentioned it? So Wendell says, I would love HET to come back. I think 32 cores for less than 1,000 is long overdue. Yeah, that's still
Yes.
like, aren't you? I'm spoiled though, because I want, maybe there needs to be an MEDT, as somebody mentioned earlier. Medium and desktop.
I don't even know what
wanna-
that looks like. What does that mean?
So
Is that like always like because remember the first generation Threadripper had an 8-core option, right? Which was the same core
Yeah.
count as the highest end Ryzen.
That seems like more of a thread tingler than a ripper.
I know, but still, it was Threadripper. It was HEDT, even though it had the same core count. So what does an MEDT look like in your eyes?
Well, I think probably so. Threadripper Pro are clearly HEDT, 64 cores, 96 cores, 32 cores, and also, by the way, many thousands of dollars for the CPUs. I mean, you're still getting the Costco pack of CPUs. I understand that, but I can't pony up for a $3,000 Threadripper chip. Is there a way to get it for? Can I get? But maybe this is that whole inflation shrinkflation thing. Can I get the previous HEDT expected runtime, duty cycle on but at the MEDT LEDT pricing, right?
Well,
Like I'm not even sure if you sat there and hammered a low end a Core i5 or Ryzen 5 for 60 hours. Are you going to come back and have it still like have it respond? I don't know, right? Because it could go everything from motherboards to power supplies, and I just feel like it feels like we need something that needs to fill this gap now, because HET is really HETTs turned back into true workstation class machines.
yeah.
And there are other benefits too. Like I would say, Brad Shoemaker. I mean, he wants as many PCIe lanes as possible too. Like, and that's hard to get on LEDT.
Well, I mean, Intel has been weirdly gating PCIe lanes for a long time as a price differentiator. I think AMD's been a little bit better about that. It seems like, but yeah, I feel like there's Falcon Kelton chat said this a second ago that there's a big jump between Threadripper and desktop because even the 4-channel Threadripper platforms are still so expensive. There's no reason not to just go for the whole 8-channel at that point. And I think that's what HDGT used to fill in, right? Like that used to be where that lived. It was better than a normal consumer desktop that you buy at Best Buy, not as good as a workstation, but shot the gap in terms of reliability and perf there. So
Right. I mean, I guess in car analogy, I would say for people who are having a hard time following this, HEDT is literally a dump truck, right? Literally a dump.
But it's
truck.
like one of those little ones that the garden center has. It's like a pickup truck with a dump truck bed.
No, I would say HEDT would be truly like Threadripper, like the way that HEDT has turned out today with Threadripper is they are truly, you're getting a dump truck. You're getting commercial class. We're going to drive this around for the city and county for the next 15 years, and we're going to abuse it. And you're going to load in, 4 tons of junk into the back and dump it. And it feels like
HEDT.
LEDT is basically a Ford Maverick, right?
No, I think
people don't know. A Ford Maverick is basically a small truck. It's not based on a ladder truck design. It's basically it's if you took a car and you cut off the back of an SUV.
Yeah, it's an El Camino, but it's tall.
Oh. Yeah, but no, El Camino is built on a ladder frame. It's even so like, and then but what we're sort of expecting is like, so if I need a F-250 or F-150, so you like I need a truck. I don't need a dump truck, but also I can't really be driving around in a Ford Maverick loading up all this junk all the time. It feels like we're sort of in this weird middle ground because but maybe I'm wrong because the Intel thing is really sort of shaking up the math on everything because, Intel really has sort of fled HEDT in a lot of ways. And then HEDT had gotten crazy anyway with like $1,500 motherboards and $3,000 CPUs. Like I just kind of want like, $800 HEDT CPU and a, $350 HEDT, basically Gulftown Westmere X79, X58 kind of days.
I mean, look, to me, because the car analogy really cleared this up for me, Gordon. Thank you so much once again. I was thinking that like the Threadripper, the workstations, the Threadripper and the Xeons were like, they're like your dump trucks, right? I think that's a good place to start. And then the LEDT are like those little Chinese trucks, the $3,000 ones, right? Like there's just
the ones that YouTubers buy from Japan.
Yeah, it's like it's like a golf cart with a bed, right?
I know which one you're talking about.
And then
I know.
and then the HEDT
that analogy works for me.
would have been like your Mercedes Sprinter vans, right? It's fancy, it looks nice, it's shiny. You can kind of haul some stuff in it. But like you're not going to put a roll of carpet in that thing. You're not going to get king size mattress in that bad boy. That's for your premium repair work type situation. Like you see the plumber roll up in one of those $140,000 Mercedes Sprinter vans. You're like, I called the wrong plumber. You got to go get the cheap guy that has the busted ass old Datsun with the camper back on it.
A friend of the show, Ruru2 says, but you're not upgrading Threadripper every generation. Those are 6 to 8 year machines. I think that's part of the point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that you don't want something that's going to burn hot and fast. You want something that's going to burn hot and slow.
Yeah, and then also there's real limitations as a Threadripper too because I mean, it's great to get the PCIe lanes, but clearly the multi-die to die, you're paying a massive hit in gaming and a lot of things where it can get pretty painful in a lot of applications that just don't like the setup. So it feels like I would not drive a dump truck around all day to like go to Costco, right? People think you're insane to load up stuff at Costco in a dump truck, but
you should go to Texas. You'd like it there, Gordon.
Yeah.
No, but F1, yeah, you're right, because F-150 it'd be perfect for.
Take my 350 dually long bed and roll into Costco. 4 parking spaces.
Also, Wendell had chimed in and said we need a Toyota IMV 0 for $10,000 truck to the $40,000 Threadripper F-150. I don't know what the IMV 0 is. So.
I'm sure it's like
one of those little guys.
Yeah.
So in the front on the bumper, you can see where the keychain was attached to it. I'm sure.
I think Wendell made a great point, though. I think we are kind of overdue for $1,000 32 core CPUs. Like, if $1,000 might be a bit tight, but it feels like we should get there. I was going back and looking at the prices of Threadripper historically before this because they do offer Threadripper these days, and we had the original 1950X was $1,000, $999. That was the highest end one. It was 16 cores. It did take the 2 dies at the time. By the time Ryzen 3000 or Threadripper 3000 came out, the 32 thread one was $2,000, which is twice that. Whatever. That was multiple generations ago. This generation that's out right now, Ryzen or Threadripper 7000, the cheapest one is a 24 core 1500, which that seems like $500 too much for me. And the 32 core has actually gone up to 2500, so it's increased $500. So the pricing is going wrong on these 32 Threadrippers, and I think that's part of the reason why we're all feeling this pinch.
And also I remember the Gordon. That was back when Gordon had his bucks per thread chart, and he was like, "Oh man, look how many threads you can get for little bucks."
That's right up there with joules per frame, which I think is what Gamers Nexus is doing. These days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. I guess.
No easy answer. I just want to be able to have a machine I can pound on for. It's 2 days.
Well, we can build you one.
It's in your head now. You're thinking about it. We got the worms. They're in there. You're thinking.
Well,
they put the little sliver in, and now you're just like, huh? What if?
What if I do this and I start seeing WHEA errors?
Yeah.
What if I get a?
I know Brad Shoemaker. He's just like he encountered some errors and got him rattled as well.
Yeah. You don't look. If you can't trust your computer, what can you trust?
Yeah, but I mean, there's definitely negatives to going all the way to I know Elena's going to get a chuckle out of this. Even I'm getting sensitive to the price of electricity these days. I just would not want to no, I mean,
wow,
it's crazy right now. Like PG&E is out of control. Anyway,
well, not even the price of electricity, but it's also like the fact that, and again, I'm looking at if I really sit here and do an AI upsample on videos for 2 days. I mean, that'll actually show up on a watt meter that you program to show you the dollars and cents on. So I'm kind of you're talking 600 watts for 2 days. It's that is no fun. Do I really want to do 64 cores? And
that's car battery electricity you're talking about. 600 watts for 2 days.
You're afraid is your house going to light on fire too? Because so do
you want your CPU to light on fire? Or do you want the house to light on fire?
Well, the walls in my in my office when I was doing those light bakes, the walls of my room were 82 degrees because it was so hot in there all the time.
Wow.
Right? It was just I touched the walls and they were warm. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
Did you toast it? Put a bread to toast?
Yeah, no, it wasn't what you want.
Friend of the show, Codgerface says, "I don't even know you anymore, Gordon. you can't shill for Intel. You're worried now about power. Your power bill. Next, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm really into small form factor. This PC is just too big, and I should put it on the desk."
But again, I'm it is more. It is more to Will. It is more to Will saying, because I live in an older house. Luckily, the circuit I'm plugged into is a newer. It's going straight to the box, but at the same time,
my circuit is straight to the box. I put a new plug in for the as a true nerd in an 80-year-old house. I ran wires into the breaker box when I bought the house. But I'm just saying the amount of heat generated by that computer heated up the walls of the room because it was running for so many hours a day. Right. It was just hot. It was excess heat warming the entire room.
I thought you were saying it was actually if you took a thermal imager, you could actually see the wires.
No.
Heating. I bet you can see it, Will.
No, you don't want to do that, do you?
If I was
because that's going to scare the. No, that's my problem. Is I can't go over 50, whatever. I would not go over 14 amps.
I put a 20 amp circuit on the PC plug. It's the only one in the house. That in the kitchen.
All right. Yeah. I think to cap this off, Willis ran a poll saying, is it time for HED to have a comeback? And we have just shy of 100 votes, and 71% of people said yes, make a comeback. So
get on it.
Yeah. Well, just call up Lisa and Pat and just be like, hey, get on that.
So Wendell had one good point in there, which is
I mean, he had many good points. We love Wendell.
Wendell had a lot of good points, but he said something that I had said earlier, which I wanted to highlight.
You want to say you made a good point, and Wendell backed you up. That's what you want to say.
Wendell did reiterate that that the GPU has taken a lot of the loads that made the HEDT stuff really important in the early 2010s.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about that on video encoding. I mean, yeah, and then you talked about it on Lightbake and stuff like that. Yeah,
AI stuff, all that stuff. It's all GPU these days.
Yeah, I sort of agree. Although I'm finding that I'm originally a lot of the stuff I was doing with upsampling was all GPU, and as the newer models have come out, it's slowly crept back to I'm back to 70% CPU utilization on a 24 core Intel part, right? So it's like, oh, I thought it was going to be doing nothing, and then you add that to the 90% the GPU is doing. It's not fun.
All right. Cool. Let's get to the last topic, which is buy or wait. Gordon, tell me about this topic. What do we forgot to print off our little sheets.
I was gonna
dang it. Yeah.
I have no idea. I think I suggested this, and I just realized I am woefully unprepared. I was hoping Elena would be here because she would offer the actual buying advice that would be useful, because listening to me is clearly useless.
You have advice. No, but I think the idea was we were going to step through all the PC components, DIY PC components, and say, do we feel like now's a good time to buy, or should you wait? Some of it is on what's out there in the market. Some of it's on cost and things like that. Whether it's value or maybe, like trends in the market going to contribute to spiking certain costs. But yeah, all right. Well, Gordon, let's start with CPU. We've been talking about CPUs this whole time. CPU, do you think, and we can answer this multiple ways, but do you think people should, it's safe to buy a CPU right now, or do you think people should wait?
I'm actually going to go with what I saw in a Wendell video, not to try to summon Wendell back again, but he basically said if you're on Ryzen 2000 and 2000, maybe even 3000, then he would say he would recommend you do a Zen 5 part, and I would agree with that generally. I'd say if you're with AMD and you're not solely hooked into I need it for a 95% gaming box, and I'm a X3D kind of person, then I think. Right now, you could make your AM5 decision pretty safely. On Intel,
are you going to stay on Intel? Is the question. I wouldn't buy one of the current desktop Intel parts right now. Oh yeah, right?
So let me finish the AMD part.
Yeah.
I would say if you're, and again, this is viewed as a new build. So like if I'm doing a new build, so obviously if you're on AM4. You're on a Ryzen 2000, you're going to not be able to run Windows 11, we're told. I would definitely think, okay, time to move. What's a good place to go? And I would say Zen 5 is a good place to go, but there actually are some good deals on Zen 4 as well. So I don't know if we're kind of getting into that granular detail on that, but
and we could start big and get granular if you want.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably generally recommended. You have to make some hard choices on what's going to work for you.
Well,
on the Intel, go ahead.
Yeah, for the Intel side, I mean, there is something theoretically coming, Arrow Lake, later this year. Do you think people should wait to see how that pans out?
Yeah,
whether they're AMD or Intel.
If you can wait on either side, I mean, if you're looking at potentially a month and a half, yeah, why and why not, right? Unless you got that, you got to burn that money out of your budget right now, then I would say wait, right? Because you want to see what they're going to be announcing. I would definitely say wait. I would definitely, if I were looking at Intel only, I would definitely want to wait. I would say if I'm set on AMD only, then I think you can make a pretty safe choice at this point. For Intel, of course, it's a really good mix. You've got actually a really good mix of parts, and I'm talking about the MEDT range of got to start to use that now, because those 14.
What does the M stand for?
Mediocre
or medium?
No, medium.
Mediocre.
High end,
mediocre and
end,
desktop.
Medium end. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's going to market under that. It's too easy to get there.
Yeah.
No, but I think 14700K is still a really solid buy. If you're not afraid of all the stuff, but clearly if you can wait and see what's coming, I would wait. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're in the spot right now where if you need to buy, like, as the answer is always kind of the same for this, right? It's like if your computer's broken and you need a computer, buy a computer, right? Buy the stuff you need. But if you have a perfectly functional machine right now, and it's still working, this doesn't seem like an optimal time to buy CPUs.
And if you're just gaming or mainly gaming,
Yeah,
I mean, and
just get a PS5, call it a day. It's much easier.
No, not going down that road. But like you're not hurting, right? Upgrade when you feel you need to, not just because new stuff is out. So
Like
that's the other part of the equation.
I was helping my daughter with some computer problems the other day. She's a Ryzen 5600, I think. And I was sitting down in front of that computer. I was like, this computer is really fast, right? It has 32 gigs of RAM. It's got the Ryzen 5600. I think I put a 2080 Ti, like an old 2080 in it, or 3080 or something in it. I can't remember. And it's like entirely enough. And she doesn't feel any pain using that PC at all, right? I was kind of looking at the 9700s thinking maybe I should drop, Zen 5 or up. But I'm going to just, there's no reason to. And with new chips coming out on AM4 all the time, seemingly, maybe the upgrade path is just buy another AM4 chip and don't replace the motherboard and RAM. When we reach that point, yeah.
I mean, yeah, does she need more cores? Because, I mean,
Sims,
you can go from
out,
6 cores to even more cores.
It's not enormously multi-threaded, The Sims.
Yeah. Surprise. Does it like cache? You could go 5600 X3D.
I could put a 5600 X3D in. That would probably be a marginal improvement that she'll never notice.
Yeah.
Really, what she really needs is a bigger SSD because she records a bunch of video and never deletes anything, it seems. So
kids these days.
Yeah.
File management. Kids,
they don't know how files work. She's like, why don't you just put it more in the cloud, Dad? It's like, that costs money.
No. Brad, CPUs, now good time to wait.
I wouldn't buy Intel right now. I would wait for Air Lake desktop for sure. And we know what's out there for AMD. And I agree kind of with what Gordon was saying about Wendell's video. Like if you're on, Ryzen 2 3000, it's probably a good time if you can feel it if you upgrade at this point. And to me, that's the upgrade point for normal people. Like, can you feel it, or are you just spending $300 to make a little bar go bigger in a benchmark chart? And I think if you have Ryzen 2000 or 3000, you definitely feel upgrading.
Okay, well, let's move on.
But I would stay the hell away from Intel right now.
Well, let's move over to GPUs, your bread and butter. Do you think now is a good time to buy a GPU, or should people wait?
Well, let me tell you, I was actually doing research on this because I haven't actually updated my best graphics cards roundup since December. And it turns out that's because it's pretty much the same damn thing that it was in December, that it was the year before that, and etc. It's still, the same advice that came out with this generation of graphics cards was like meh across the board. The prices just got ridiculous. The generational value isn't there. No matter which side you're looking at, I think Ryzen 6000 was great. I think GeForce 3000 was great. These modern Gen 1s, they're cool. DLSS 3 is awesome. Like, if you like DLSS 3, you play CPU-bound games, that might be cool.
But everyone has 4090s. I thought 4090 was the best GPU of all time.
Yeah.
No, that's the 1080, dude.
Don't tell that to Gordon.
If you have a 1080, now's a good time to upgrade. To me, that's about the line for me. Like 10 series, higher 10 series. If you're lower to mid 2000 series, I'd be looking to upgrade. If I had 3000, no chance I would upgrade. 2000, I probably wouldn't upgrade. You're probably not getting your money's worth with the way prices are these days. It's just the whole market has moved upwards, and the value, like the price to performance, didn't adjust with it. So to me, low end 2000, any in the 10,000 series or AMD equivalents is when I'd be looking to upgrade right now.
All right, Gordon, what do you think?
But I wouldn't be excited about it. Like, nothing I'm seeing in the market is exciting. Like, the top sellers are all the old Radeon 6600s and 3060s, which makes sense. They're the cheapest available cards. Graphics cards are so expensive to make on bleeding edge TSMC chips, and high-end companies want them, that it's just, there's no meat left for gamers who like the enthusiast number pushing side of things. You can upgrade your graphics card if you need to, but don't get excited about it.
Yeah, and actually the Amazon charts are I'm sorry, the Newegg and Amazon best-selling charts are pretty comparable. 3060, 4070.
And those 4070s, those 4070s are still going for $600, which was too much money when they came out a year and a half ago. So,
Gordon, GPU?
Yeah, it's pretty disheartening there too. In fact, I mean, definitely more disheartening in a lot of ways because it doesn't feel like we've had any exciting launch cycles. And the excitement, I mean, that sort of gets to the heart of like the internet will always say like, well, you know what? You never should have released this chip in the first place. You never should have released this in the first place. And look at us. We're all like, yeah, it's kind of because they haven't released anything new, right? So there are real upsides to companies releasing new hardware because it gets everybody excited no matter what. Even sometimes if it's a relabel of an old model, I know that bums people out, but it does drive the excitement curve on a lot of this cycle on this. I would say, yeah, no, GPUs, I am feeling a little better because at least the prices are better, but they still suck. So
yeah, they settled in on MSRP, but the problem is AMD and Nvidia settled in on elevated MSRPs after the pandemic. Yeah.
I think but the one thing I do want to make sure people understand is like, yeah, it doesn't feel great if you are excited about getting the newest, latest, fastest thing, but 80% of PC gamers, for the most part, again, the loudest people in the room, they just want to be able to play the latest game at frame rates and resolutions and settings they're happy with. So they don't have to have Core i9, 4090, Ryzen 9, 7900 XTX. They simply have to have good frame rates to play the games they have. So I don't want to dissuade people from thinking, oh, it's terrible, I'm not going to buy anything. Because if you are, again, if this is a good chance, like you're graduating from your game console to building your first gaming desktop machine, it's not a bad time. It's not a horrible time. You're just not going to get in on the brand new cycle of stuff that we usually would get, where the excitement is really kind of kicked up. But still, you know, it is a little bit of a bummer, right? Because we are people that like to see new hardware push the edges, and we're not seeing that in GPUs either. So
well, but at the same time, we're like midway through the console cycle this go around, and it's the time where the 4090 kind of skipped straight to the end of the PC side of the console cycle, where like the 4090 is going to crush anything that is a PS5 or Xbox Series game. So like when the 5080 rolls out, what's it going to do? Let us do 8K game? I don't know, man. I don't have an 8K monitor. I can play on a 4K monitor higher than the refresh rate of the monitor right now for the most part. So yeah, it seems like everything's fine.
It's fine.
Well, it's fine. People just want to see new things because again, they just want to see new things. So
and new things also drop the price of the old things too, which is the real win for a lot of people. Like
that's
yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to time the pause there. I jacked that up. But yeah, that's something also worth keeping in mind. Like somewhere around the end of this year, early next year, we're supposed to see the next generation of Radeon and GeForce cards. My guess would be probably early next year. I would be surprised if we saw a new AMD and Nvidia this year. We might see Intel, but that's when maybe we'll start to see some of the prices move. Hopefully, the chips, the GPUs are awesome, and you want to buy them in their own right. But even if not, hopefully we start to see some of these prices finally come down 2 years after they launch.
Yeah. I will say, just interesting thing as I was looking through the best-selling GPUs, the number 9 best-selling GPU on Amazon in the US right now is an RX 580.
Wow.
Legend.
Yeah. I was like, wow, where's the 1080 Ti in here?
How much is it going for?
I don't think that's
$93.
even supported anymore, is it?
I don't think so. It's not $93.
I wonder if this is more of a testament to how much the top 5, how fat the curve is at the top 5, top 3, than that GPU. I wonder if there's just a massive amount of volume in what's available at the 4080, 4090, 3060.
I'm looking through this list, and you can get a XFX Radeon RX 6600 for $160. if you are building your first gaming rig and you're looking for a great 1080p gaming card, that's a great deal. Get that one.
Are you talking about the Swift 210?
Yeah. That's 160 is a great price for that.
Well, speaking of gaming and graphics technology, we have a new article up on the website today by Michael Carter about the NVIDIA announced the G-Sync monitors that won't need a separate module anymore. They're partnering with MediaTek to allow for the goodness of VRR and stuff like that. So for monitors, maybe you're not upgrading your GPU, but maybe you should upgrade your monitor. Is now a good time?
I think you should definitely upgrade your monitor if you haven't in a while. I'm a big believer in the things you want to spend up on most on your computer are the things that you touch and you look at and you listen to all day. And most people treat monitors like fridges. You get a new fridge when it dies. A lot of people are like that with monitors too. There's plenty of people, I'm sure, who game every day. We're still gaming on an old 8-year-old 1080p monitor. Between panel types and refresh rates and V-Sync and now apparently G-Sync is going to be not needing a module going forward, which is great. Hopefully that results in lower prices. Monitors are in the best place they have been in years, and a lot of it is at the high end. If you have $700+ to spend on a monitor, you'll get something that'll melt your brain. One of those ultra wide OLEDs. Like I've seen them, I've played on them. I wish I could afford them.
I still need to try ultra wide.
Yeah, but what's cool is it pushes down everything else. So right now you can get like a banging 4K monitor for $225. You can get a really fast 1440p monitor for under $200 these days if you keep an eye out for sales. Like, go get one.
and the high refresh rate stuff is like going from 120 to 360. Who cares? Going from 60 to 120 or 144 in terms of refresh rate is going to be a noticeable difference, especially if you're playing competitive stuff. If you're playing fast shooters, you're playing Counter-Strike, you're playing Valorant, you're playing Fortnites or Siege or whatever, you'll feel those frames even if,
Even Elena. Go for it.
You can even feel that once you start using 120 hertz or up. You can even feel it on the desktop. Like I can sit and be like, nope, this is a 60 hertz desktop, and I can't do this anymore. So.
Even Elena says monitors feel so cheap now. So if Elena's saying it, it's a pretty good time to get on it.
Get rid of that old Dell 2405. It's time.
It is unfortunately a U-shaped market there, though, right? Because I was like thinking about upgrading my daughter's panel because she has a higher refresh rate panel, but it's an early,
like
FreeSync
TN or something. Yeah,
it's an early FreeSync panel. It's not. I don't think it's a TN. It's probably a VA panel.
Oh,
so at least it's not that bad. But it. I was like, oh, maybe I'll everything that's really super awesome, affordable, which I love, is great, but they weren't much better than what she has. The only next step up is like you said, Brad, it's $700. It's like, man, isn't there like some $500 OLED, 1440p, 240-ish? No?
700 is where you're going to go for OLED, man. It's funny. We were just talking about about CPUs and GPUs. We have a review going up this week it's about $1,000-ish QD OLED monitor. We do monitor reviews on PCWorld. Our guy, Matt Smith, also does them for IGN and stuff. They're excellent. If people didn't know that, you should check them out. And it really speaks to the problem. He said it's generically great. Like, yeah, it's another $1,000 excellent OLED. It doesn't do anything above or beyond the rest, but it's great. So
it's another
monitor's a good place.
It's another one.
Well, yeah, and those ultra wide, like that $1,000 Samsung ultra wide that's 50 inches it's almost like playing a game in VR without having to feel with the headsets and all that stuff. I play Helldivers with a friend who has one of those, and he often, when he's spectating me, when he's dead, he's spectating me. He's like, "There's something coming up behind you on the right," because he can see that stuff, and it's way off my screen.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cheating.
Pro tip.
Yeah.
PvE. Pay to win.
All right, let's keep going. RAM. I feel like motherboards. I mean, nobody's really upgrading motherboards, so it's kind of tied to CPU. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Eh,
Okay.
if you want to get your Raptor Lake taken care of
Yeah,
faster,
there
you
you
get it faster RAM.
Yeah. So RAM, do we feel like now is a good time to upgrade RAM or not?
It's always a good time to have more RAM, Adam.
Yeah. You just throw in some more sticks, you know,
I mean,
Download
more
it.
RGB.
you
You could download the RAM.
Yeah, you could do the RAM accelerator. No, like going from depending on what your workload is, like look and see how much RAM you're using on the reg. If your RAM is often full in Task Manager, maybe consider buying some bigger sticks. The prices have been kind of high lately, though, so maybe it's not a good like. This is a commodity market, right?
Well, yeah, huh. Well, I found because I feel like there was something. Oh yeah, 4 days ago, Extreme Tech said DDR5 prices expected to skyrocket as SK Hynix plans DRAM price hike. Which I don't know how much of the market that they serve, but SK Hynix
chunk.
serves. Yeah, so maybe now is a good time if you're looking for it because maybe prices are going to go up.
I think now, like we were saying with graphics cards, it's the same with RAM. It's fine. Like now, if you need more RAM, go get some. You're not getting ripped off. You're not necessarily getting the best deals, but it's fine enough that if you are willing to wait a week and kind of set up price alerts and camel calendars on it, you can find some really good discounts. And it's definitely a lot better than it was when DDR5 first came out. So,
Well, and are we getting to the point now with DDR4 where the volume is going to start going down and the prices are going to start going back up on that again too? Like, is this the time to stock up on DDR4 if you're on a DDR4 machine?
the way that AMD keeps releasing AM4 chips, I don't even know they do that anymore.
Wait, did Elena chime in on the RAM stuff?
She said it's not overly expensive, so buy if you need, don't
okay.
buy if you don't.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the same thing for SSD prices. It looks like because SK Hynix provides a lot of SSD production, and that the prices are looking to jump up as well for SSDs. Thanks, SK Hynix, the maker of fastest in class SSDs.
SSDs were cheaper last year. Apparently, I'm the fill-in Elena on the show. I actually pay attention to all this stuff day to day. SSD prices were cheaper last year for sure. They have gone up a bit this year because of the market. So the same NAND chips are in solid-state drives. They're in RAM. They're in all this stuff. And they fluctuate. They're super commodity market. So right now we're starting to see RAM and SSDs get a little bit more expensive because of that. But SSDs are still in a great spot right now. Regardless of what you're buying, if you need a fast PCIe 5, like you'll find fine prices on that. But the real place to look, if you're looking to save your most money, is to go back and look at a PCIe 4, maybe even a PCIe 3 drive. Get yourself a nice NVMe drive, one of those older ones, unless you're doing like video creation or something that will really hammer, like you need to transfer a lot of size of files at once. Go get yourself a $50 PCIe 3 NVMe SSD. Jeez, that's a long thing to say at once. And it'll get you booted on your desktop real quick. It'll get your games going fast. Your apps open immediately, and you'll be good to go for $50. So, stock up on storage.
Stock up on it.
I like it.
I see bigger capacities too. I feel like they keep hitting those.
I'm seeing 4 terabytes now. 2 terabytes used to be the biggies.
Yeah.
It's great. There's also actually what we're seeing a lot of advances in is portable storage. So, like, one thing I like to do is load up portable storage with a Steam drive, and then I have that set up to my computer so I can just come and plug them into different places. And portable SSDs are getting really fast and pretty reasonably priced. Like, you can get a terabyte portable SSD from Samsung or Crucial or SK Hynix that'll melt your face off for under $100. So, something to keep in mind if you're going to college.
Nice. What about cases? I feel like case prices have been pretty steady, right? It's more just like, different kinds. Like, there's more wood options now than ever as well.
I just don't want to do that seems like too
you don't
much
like
work.
wood?
No. I like. Look, I'll wax my case. I'm fine.
I don't think they're recommending you wax your case.
You don't have to keep the wax, the wood moisturized.
I don't think so.
Important. Well, okay. Well, it's nice that it's low touch, but I just don't want to have to take all the crap out of my old case and move it to the new computer. That seems like a lot of work. Plus, I have all my RGB set up. It's like I got the speed lights on. I don't need new. What am I going to get? A fishbowl case?
Yeah, why not? Glass, man. Why not more glass?
That is compelling.
Yeah.
When you put it, what I really need is a way to hang my computer from under the desk, because nobody makes a hook for the standing desk people that will hold a gaming PC that's the size of my case.
Well, Falcon Northwest has a handle.
A frag
on
box.
It. Yeah, a frag box. You just put a little handle.
I have
frag box.
I have a
there you go.
Meshify compact.
Well, there's your
there.
problem.
Yeah.
You need to buy a Falcon
Buy a
Northwest.
Falcon.
Elena says that she loves changing cases, and I can't tell if she's being serious or not. I actually do know some people who change cases. I maybe do a
poll.
A poll. I'd be curious, like, how often does somebody willing to change their case and not also parts at the same time? To be like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to take the guts from this, and I'm going to put it in a new case because I want a new case. I do. I'm more. Oh, and she said she's serious. So okay, yeah.
Yeah, the last time I did it was when I had the Bolt and I was going to Palm Springs, and my old case wouldn't fit in the car, and I needed one that was a little bit thinner. So I bought Steve's favorite case, the NZXT.
Oh, the H510. Yeah. Everybody loves that one. Yeah.
The I.
Oh, much better.
Yeah.
Elena says it's like having different clothes and way cheaper than a whole new build. I actually kind of like that. That's a good point. To be like, hey, you know what? It looks newer. You just put a fresh coat of paint on it, and it'll probably run faster too.
Also, it's impossible to get all the dust out. Like if you have a case that's been running for like 5 years, like you're never going to be able to strip that thing down enough to get all the dust and grime out of it. It's just beard hairs.
You're saying
and
so
dead
instead
skin all the way down.
Instead of trying to clean the case, you just throw it away. You're like, there's no chance I'm going to clean this.
It's like the toilet seat. You pull the toilet seat cover off and flush that one. Get a freshie. you know when you go through O'Hare and they have the toilet seats with the plastic the sleeve that just goes around the toilet ring.
Wait, that still is a thing?
Have you never seen those? It's amazing.
Oh no, I've seen those things, but it's still a thing. I thought that was
those. Yeah, it's like a little conveyor belt.
I've seen those before. Yeah.
That's what I want.
It actually makes me think of, like, man, when I was a kid, we used to have the hand towels in the bathroom.
Yeah,
that was just the like a rotation loop of the towel.
Well, there was a ringer in the top, so it would squeeze the water out.
Yeah,
sanitary.
It was a different day and age. Well, yeah, not exactly the right question, but yeah, no, cases. I mean, I still think it's a good time because now more than ever, there's just so many different options.
Yeah, I was gonna say cases, I think, have been in a generally good spot this decade. Like, I feel like the last 5 years they've been great. But if you haven't pulled an Elena and swapped yours out in the last few years, now might be a time to do so, because I feel like what you get for $90 to $100 with the case is so much more than you would get for 2020. Yeah. Like, if you're looking to freshen up your space, or if you're building a new PC, I think spending $100 on a case is totally worthwhile these days. You get way more than you used to.
Nice. I like it. All right. What other components? Power supply. Should people upgrade to Gen 5 power supplies?
I buy a nice power supply and then treat it like a fridge, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
My computer tells me when I need to upgrade my power supply.
Gordon, you're real into power supplies. Do you think it's worth jumping to PCI 5? Just for the efficiency part of it, or getting a new cybernetics rated power supply rather than the 80 plus?
Probably not. I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's just, for me, it is way too much work to rip out the guts of my machine and replace it. So there could be an argument if you buy a power supply with fully modular and you swap out just the power supply itself. But I don't think, most people are going to switch brands too. So, and the cables may not even match up. But I think that's definitely, power supply, motherboard, CPU are sort of all tied together. Yeah. Maybe cooling too. I mean, a lot of sort of like those core components, once you put them in there, it's only when you do that major upgrade where you do everything, is when you sort of decide like, oh, I'm kind of sick of this cooler, or I'm sick of these fans, or,
Yeah, something for me that also plays into it is beyond the sheer pain in the ass factor and the fact that my old power supply still works just fine. Mm-hmm. People forget that power supplies jumped a lot in price during the pandemic because everybody was using them for cryptocurrency. It's the same now for people who are using 4090s for AI learning and machine learning, stuff like that. Nice power supplies jumped a lot in 2020, and they're still fairly elevated. So I wouldn't be rushing to replace a power supply. It's going to cost you more than you paid 5 years ago. I am looking forward to when I do have to upgrade my power supply to get the cybernetics ratings, to get the PCIe, the new connectors, and all that stuff. I'm looking forward to that. I'm just not going out of my way to get that.
Well, and the time to replace your power supply is when you start getting weird black screen reboots. That's usually the tell, right? This like it is August in the Northern Hemisphere. We're in the heart of power supply upgrade season because this is when we always would get the letters into the magazine that were like, "Hey, I started getting weird reboots. I don't know what's going on with it. I live in Florida and my computer room's 103 degrees because the air conditioning doesn't work so great in here." And it's always the power. That's always the power supply, like 90% of the time.
I am mad today. Today I'm in New England. It is 50 degrees when I woke up this morning. The highs are only 60s, and I'm wearing sweatpants in August, and I am furious about it.
Look at that. We're hitting 80 in the Bay Area. We're sweating over here.
It's 55 in the studio, though. Don't worry.
Yeah. No.
I just flipped on my AC unit, so it's kind of crazy.
Oakland AC unit. All right. Well, hey, a lot of the market buys pre-builts. Would we say now is a good time to buy a pre-built? I mean, because you're buying the whole kit and caboodle.
Again, I think the advice which we always lean into is you upgrade based on your needs, right? So if your box is feeling like an old POS and you don't want to bother to spec and build it yourself, then doing a pre-built it's not a bad time. This really is not a bad time. Yeah, the enthusiasm isn't quite there because we don't have knocking out of the ballpark CPUs or GPU launches that have changed everything. But I would still say, again, if you're doing an upgrade from an old, deadly box that's just a POS, then it's not a bad idea. In fact, let me just check. If you have a machine that only has 419 days to go before they turn off Windows 10 for you, then maybe you should think about it. I have this pet theory that you're going to want to upgrade before it turns into a mad rush, because the prices, no matter what, if Microsoft goes through and shuts everything off in 2025, I think there's going to be a mad rush for people to upgrade machines, because there's going to be stories about it. There's going to be mainstream stories about it, which of course, going to really calm consumers. And then everybody's just going to be like, I need a new laptop. I need a laptop. I need this, need that. So I think now is not a bad time if you want to sort of avoid that rush. Although if you can hold off, it's always better to wait. But I would say, yeah, okay.
Well, and like, I know that you look at the Steam's hardware survey results, and I see a lot of people that are on machines that not just predate the pandemic but predate crypto, right? Like you're seeing people on like 8th gen Intel running 1070s and 1060s and stuff like that, and there's a perception. I think there's a perception among people, because of the pandemic kind of hardware buying pause for a lot of people, the 1-2 punch of crypto and then the pandemic making GPUs and CPUs really hard to get for a long time, is that people think, oh, I'm on a 9900 with a i9 9900 with a 2800 or 2700. I have a new gaming PC. Dog, your PC is 5-6 years old at this point, and it's probably time. So yeah, like a 7800 X3D and a 4070 is going to be a banger upgrade for you. Like it is going to change your life in terms of the games that you're playing, and like it's absolutely it all whether it's a good time or not is always relative to upgrade. Words went out of order there, but yeah,
it's actually like not a bad time to buy a rebuild if you're into that. Because like we were saying, everything's fine right now. It just is what it has been for the last 2 years for most of the major components. And that means pricing competition. Yeah. Like these people are having to fight because everything's been kind of, fine for a couple years. So the Dells and the HPs and the Cyber Powers or whatever are fighting each other down. I remember during the pandemic, like you could not build a gaming PC that would be worth building for less than $1,500. But these, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we couldn't, for the game studio, we would hire people and we had to stagger hire dates based on when we could get computers for them. And we just called the guy who sold our computers and he was like, here's what I have this week. It's a 3090 and then I have 3 3060s. Which ones do you want? We would just be like, Please send them all.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now you can get like, if you're willing to get a Ryzen 5 or a Core i5, pair it with the 4060, you're going to get a terabyte of memory and storage and 16 gigs of memory, and that includes Windows. That's one of the perks of a pre-built, and the warranty support. And you can get those for, if you're looking around, $800-900 these days, which that'd be a great, get your first 1080p gaming.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good little time to buy pre-builts right now.
Nice. All right. Cool. Anything else we want to cover for the upgrader weight or
Keyboards?
Or buy or wait?
It's always time to upgrade keyboards, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Get those new switches.
And we're going to be doing a build. We're going to be doing a live stream at some point. We've been gathering parts and whatnot. We just haven't got to yet.
You got those.
I just upgraded my keyboard last night.
Ooh, what'd you get?
Well, I had a Razer
comes.
that all the keys were getting stuck. I think it's because I had stored it improperly, which is stuff stacked on top of it.
Yep.
So
hair.
you'd hit those weird buttons that would just stick. What happened?
Adam's running away from the table now.
So I ended up going downstairs. Like, I have to have a 10 key. So I grabbed this. I have this HyperX keyboard that isn't bad. It's also quiet. I went to download stuff on. It's like, man, this thing is ancient. This thing is like, it's got to be like 5 or 6 years old. It has micro USB on it. So.
Oh wow. Is it mechanical? It's not. That's a membrane keyboard.
Mini USB. No, it's mechanical, but I don't know what brand it is. But it's not very mechanical. So. But I have to have 10 key. So.
This is Adam got something beautiful.
Gordon, I bought you a keyboard. I keep forgetting to tell you that I bought you a keyboard. So 8-Bit Do released their Commodore 64 themed keyboard. So I have a new in box here, and I know you like 10 key, so I did get the 10 key add-on.
Holy smokes!
So yeah,
The 10 key add-on is
on there, or
NES colors, though. Just to be clear.
I know. I don't think they make the Commodore coloring yet. So sorry.
Oh, that's nice.
But
man, that's perfect.
yeah, there you go.
It has the knobs and everything. It's a nice keyboard.
It's the keyboard I use right now. So
You using the Commodore
nice.
version?
Very nice.
no, I use the NES version. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So anyway, sorry. I keep forgetting that I have that to give to you. So
No, but the keyboard scene has gotten crazy, right? It's just like if you have an off the shelf keyboard like I do, like you feel like you're basically a low end DT user, right? So it's like because now it's like you don't forge your keys in the actual fab that they make them in. It's like, no, what are you talking about? Like what steel is used in the spring? I don't know.
unobtainium. That's the best kind of stuff.
What's the stuff that people should upgrade that they don't? We talked about monitors, like webcams, microphones, headphones. What do we like?
Audio. Get good audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, good microphone, good headphones.
Yeah. Headphones, DAC, that's one of those things that
Speakers?
if you do get a good one, you can hold on to it for multiple generations, for audio. Like I always think it's like if you're willing to spend $1,800 on a GPU and you have like just crappy ass audio gear, like come on, like it's like buying a Lamborghini. I'm going to use a car analogy, just like buying a Lamborghini and then getting the oh hey, what's the cheapest tires you have at Firestone? Yeah, just throw those on there. In my mind, so.
As someone sitting here suffering through staring at myself on this low-grade laptop webcam, go get yourself a nice webcam, man. I have no excuse. You don't have no excuse. You can get a 4K webcam for $60 these days. You can get a 1080p webcam for $20 these days.
But the fixed focus good ones, that Elgato 1080p fixed focus camera and the Logitech equivalent often, if you price watch those, they often go on sale for well under $100. And when I talk to people all day long on calls, people always are excited to talk to you when your webcam doesn't suck and your microphone, they can hear you on the microphone. They're like, oh wow, this is your microphone. You sound really good. I keep, it's just nice to have you do that stuff for other people, not just for you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gordon. There is a Commodore 64 edition of the numpad. I need.
I didn't think they made one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Maybe I just bought the wrong one.
Kyle Wild in the chat brings up a good one. Routers.
Yeah.
Buy now
Oh.
or wait.
especially if you're in a crowded environment. Like that's one of the best ways is to just buy your way into a better situation.
Yeah.
There's not that many. There is actually, because I got a Wi-Fi 7 router thinking, ooh, I was going to be the first one. There actually is somebody in my apartment complex that already has a Wi-Fi 7. I'm like,
the other thing
Really?
is,
Yeah.
if you just want to get the new Wi-Fi standard, you can use your old router and plug an AP into it that just has the Wi-Fi radio, an access point. So then you're only, instead of paying $500 for a router plus access point, you can literally just buy the access point only part, plug it into one of the Ethernet ports on the back of your router, and it's a much cheaper upgrade cycle in the future because the router lasts a long time.
yeah. Buy it piecemeal.
Although it gets messy because of the bandwidth behind it too, right? So
Did-
Adam and I are both in unique position,
Yeah.
but
10 gig.
You nutty dumb, Mr.
1 gig for me
Frenchman.
still.
10
it
gig.
really does. It does make it problematic. Actually, it's funny because
Like, how am I going to use all these gigs?
Humble brag.
Yeah, no. I have this Wi-Fi 7 router I'm trying to set up. It's an ASUS router as well, and I haven't really had a chance to get through it. But it's like the one thing that's really nice about it has multi-gig ports.
I mean,
It is really hard to get consumer hardware with multi-gig ports, right? So
Yeah.
and we're to the point now where the routers are just amazing, right? So with the
They're also
multi-ports,
huge.
you
and
guys
we're
are
also
yeah.
Wi-Fi 7 is sort of finally launched. Feels like.
You guys, when you get, I think, above the 1 gigabit, you're really, consumer routers are kind of off the table, I think, in a lot of cases. Like, I think you should be looking at OpenSense or doing a Ubiquiti or a TP-Link or whatever.
I don't wanna manage
I don't want to
that.
become an IT
Yeah.
manager.
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point, I think, of buying consumer. I know a lot of the router snobs are like, ooh, that's just consumer stuff.
Why are you pointing at me?
But like, I want my router to look like a router, even if it does look like a
What-
spaceship.
Does that mean it
I
has
want
like
it to look like a
17
router.
antennas
Yeah.
around
It
and some
needs to look
lights?
like a
I
spider.
don't want it to look like someone stole it out of the data center. Like, oh, is that a one rack Ubiquiti? Because they are ugly, right? They are ugly.
No, Ubiquiti has a thing that looks like a tube. You can get the tube one. You don't have to
Yeah,
get it's not all rack mounted.
Wait, say that
I think
again?
the real
It
risk
does?
is that
Yeah, it's called the Dream Machine Mini or something. I can't remember.
pull the picture, Adam.
It's MEDT.
Oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
like an
I don't know if
Alexa
that's 10
cylinder
gigabit.
kind of
That
thing.
might only be 2 gigabit.
Ugh.
But like, you look, with great
Dream
power
Machine. We
comes
have a
great
Dream Machine back
responsibility,
here.
guys. That's the thing. You're in a situation. Uncle Ben died for you to get that 10 gigabit Ethernet, right? You if you want to really use it, you got to have something to feed the beast. I'm mixing
But
metaphors.
what's
R.I.P.
more
Uncle Ben.
dangerous, though, Will? Somebody running a consumer machine they bought at the big box store, but they are paying for all of the proper updates for, AV, malware, scanning, and all that.
Yeah.
Or to have them like, oh, no, you can manage that yourself. And then they don't manage it.
Look.
Semi-managed from a non-pro unmanaged that's not managing it, or someone who's buying pro stuff that they're not managing. What's more dangerous?
Look. Great power, great responsibility, Gordon. That's all I'm gonna say. Somebody not to derail. Somebody a minute ago asked if it was hard to do the AP with the separate APs with the router. It's not. You basically just set up the access point with your SSIDs and then plug it in, and it works itself out. You can even set up multiple access points in the house if you have a bigger house or want to have like Wi-Fi in your barn or yard or something like that. So
Yeah, but roaming between them is can get messy too.
as long as the
because
SSIDs are set the same and you don't have. You need to basically make sure that the Wi-Fi settings are the same for all the access points, and then it just hands off seamlessly between them. Should now.
no, but okay.
I mean, I do it in my house. It's not complicated.
You are also
I'm a
Wi-Fi
simple
snob.
man.
Yeah,
I'm a simple
networking
man,
snob.
really.
Yeah, for you and Elena, like, we got our real routers. You got your toy router.
I mean, look, mine doesn't look like it came in a cereal box. No, but it
Mine has RGB now.
Actually,
So-
yeah.
finally you're on board with RGB in
Yeah.
all the wrong places.
Networking is the only thing I hate more than printing, and so I just pay Comcast $15 a month and just run whatever they got.
What about
That's no
network
problem.
printers, Brad? That's where the real money happens.
Don't even say those words in my vicinity.
All right.
I think it's not a great time to upgrade right now. The time to upgrade printers is during Black Friday.
Really?
And we're coming up on Black Friday. Yes.
Is this
You
like
wanna
buying
basically-
mattresses on Memorial Day? You always buy
For some
printers?
reason, Black Friday and holiday printer sales are just awesome. And then what you don't want to do is you finally want to take that chance is to buy a printer that does not have the ink cartridges, but that has the mega tanks. So
What if you just buy a laser printer like a decent human being? Don't have to
Well-
deal with ink at all.
all the laser printer snobs always say that, but
Oh, no,
I've
he
had
is.
many laser printers, and the problem is unless you're buying some generic ass Office HP printer that they've been using for 25 years, the toner gets expensive there too. So and gets very hard.
Yeah, but like my last Brother printer, I changed the toner like 3 times in its 15-year life. I'm comfortable paying $70 for it.
I have a Brother color inkjet printer or color laser printer that I've changed the ink at least 3 times. And the last time I gave up on buying the name brand Brother ink.
Oh, no.
It basically, it basically is Chernobyl, right? It's still sitting there. I don't know what to do with it because I don't want to throw it away.
Yeah.
But it's basically like it's still good, I guess. It turns on. So I would just everybody's always like buy a laser. Make sure that you buy. I think if you buy a business class laser where you can get the ink, where you can get the toner cartridges at a reasonable price, 5 or 6 years down the road. Because otherwise, they start to gouge you just like they do on the ink.
I mean, that's probably true. Look, the thing, you just need to start refilling your own toner cartridges. You get a big bag of powder from China, and then you open that bad boy up and just fill it up, and then you have one room of your house that's just devoted to that from then on out because you can't go in there for anything else.
You can get through customs.
Yeah.
through that.
Also, wear a mask when you do that.
Yeah.
It's probably it's fine.
Oh my!
All right, we need to move on. Since this show is running long, I'm going to do 2 questions. Whatever, just so we can get out of here. So don't get your questions in now because I'm not going to bring them up. I'm going to read a couple from our Discord. There's a link in the description to our fine Discord. Friend of the show, Sneaky, says theory crafting time. Is it that Intel changed the Core i branding to Core Ultra because they already know how the 13th and 14th gen will desecrate the i branding ahead of time? What do you think?
Definitely not.
I don't think they were concerned about that at the time they locked down that branding.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a no. In fact, you look at Core i7, that goes all the way back to, again, the original LGA 1366 launch. And then we had it tossed only recently for the AI generation. And no, I don't think that's, I would say, nice try, but I can come up with 4 different better conspiracy theories than that. So you have to take my class, Conspiracy Theories in Technology, to learn how to craft better conspiracy theories.
I actually would.
Is that on cranks.us? Is that the URL for that?
No,
We have
on,
a
it's
full
on.
Usenet devoted to it.
I was going to say it's on LinkedIn Learning. No. All right. Last question, then we can get out here. Friend of the show, Ivan R. asks a very important question. Which Batman movie is the best? Batman. I said Batman. Weird.
Oh, Dark Knight. That's nobody's even disagree with that.
That is the best Batman movie.
That's the one with Heath Ledger, right?
Yeah, that's the one with
Yes.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
But you know what they didn't have for The Dark Knight?
What?
Well,
Mike
they didn't have those
Keaton?
McDonald's commemorative glasses where they had imprints of Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey and Val Kilmer
I really like
on the
that
side of them. And like if they had those glasses, I'd be on board with this. But I think I'm gonna go with Batman and Robin. It's the only anatomically
You're
correct
saying that just to
bastards.
anger people.
Yeah.
You're saying that just to anger people.
I learned it from you, Gordon.
Yeah, but I don't even believe it because that's just like you got to try harder. You got to pick something even worse. You know,
I mean,
that's
look,
just like-
my favorite's the original Tim Burton.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a difference between the best one and then your favorite one.
I think Batman Returns is the best Christmas movie. Batman.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now that's
it is.
definitely
It is a
insane,
Christmas
but
movie.
Yeah,
Okay. With the
it's a
Penguin.
Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna say of my favorite, the best one is probably The Dark Knight. It's a real movie, whereas the rest of them are superhero movies.
Yeah. No, I think we can all agree The Dark Knight is the best one. The best movie.
Wait, no one likes Adam West's as Batman?
I've seen a lot of
He
Adam
didn't
West.
really do movies. He didn't really do
Well,
movies.
he did say, yeah.
They
so
did a
so we
movie.
did say movies.
There
Did
was a
they
movie.
make a
There's a
movie?
movie. There's
Oh.
a movie
There's a
for that.
movie.
That's
It's
why I'm
bad.
saying that.
Whoops. No, I guess nobody even remembered.
It has the wrong Catwoman.
Okay. So
I must have blacked that movie out, so I guess
Yeah.
that speaks to the quality.
all right. So then let's go through again. What is your favorite Batman? So not the best, but what's your favorite, Gordon?
Oh, then that'd be Adam West, right?
No. The movie. Even though you haven't
Wait.
seen it,
What
I'm
you
talking
doing
about.
here?
Wait, you saying
no,
movie or
I'm sorry.
or
The best. Your
actor.
favorite Batman movie.
Batman movie.
We know what's
Oh,
the best movie, but
Dark
which one
Knight.
is your favorite one?
Dark Knight is the best one
so
and my favorite.
It lines
Yeah.
up. Okay, Brad.
I like the original one that had Danny DeVito as the Penguin and everything.
So Return.
That's
Batman.
Returns.
Batman Returns.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an unhinged Danny DeVito performance. It's very good.
it's so great. I love it. Yeah.
Will. What's your favorite?
I like my children. I can't pick my favorite Batman movie.
Really?
I just told you a minute ago. It's
What was it?
It's the original Tim Burton.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
My personal favorite is Batman Forever. It really is.
Really, with
yeah.
Jim Carrey and
Yeah. Yeah,
The Val Kilmer
pretty
one.
good.
It's
Yeah.
it's the one I watched the most as a kid, and I just loved it. And also that soundtrack, Seal, Kissed by a Rose. How can you go
Oh.
wrong?
Holy rusted metal
Yeah,
Batman.
and is that the one with Nicole Kidman, or is that the one with George Clooney with Nicole Kidman?
Yeah, George Clooney's in
No,
in the-
Val Kilmer's
Val
Batman
Kilmer,
Forever
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a good Batman,
Yeah.
but I like that movie.
You have to have the right lips
Yeah.
to play Batman.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of Batmans.
Yeah.
Willis, what's your favorite Batman?
Dark Knight, and I just watched it recently too. It holds up. I
It's good.
watched
Well,
it for
it's 'cause
my
it's a good movie.
third time. It holds up.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elena, if she's still here, Elena, what's your favorite Batman movie? I'd actually be curious to hear. All right. Oh, you know what? We got somebody in the chat. Dammy Derek says, honestly, my favorite is the Battinson. So, what is it? The Batman? Is that what it's called?
Honestly, Will Arnett as Lego Batman is very strong
Oh.
too. That Lego Batman movie is rips.
Elena, to have a favorite, you don't have to have watched all of them.
No.
You can just have a favorite. But yeah. So anyway, all right, let's get out of here. We've been doing this for way too long. Way too long. Just kidding. Gordon,
Okay.
you want to take us out?
Check back next week for your fix of PC Talk on the Full Nerd. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Pocket Cast, or Spotify. And if you're on one of the services, please leave a review. Every time you do, someone picks a really bad Batman movie as their favorite Batman movie. Send questions to comments
Like who?
and comments to thefullnerd at PCWorld.com. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Brad Charkis,
Adios, y'all.
Adam Patrick Murray,
Thanks, everyone.
Will Smith,
Bye, everybody.
and Will Slice can hit the off switch.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you next time. But before I go, I'm going to say, I'm Batman.
That's pretty.
Why is he running, Dad? Because we have to chase him. That doesn't make any sense.
Why do we?